The boundary between dimensions screamed. In the lightless depths beneath Gotham's oldest cemetery, where even the rats feared to tread, reality tore open like infected flesh. Hellfire, not the red-orange of earthly flame, but the sickly green phosphorescence of damnation itself, poured through the wound in existence. The temperature plummeted. Frost crept across century-old tombstones, and from that impossible rift stepped a figure wrapped in living darkness. Al Simmons had been dead for years, murdered, damned, resurrected as Spawn, lieutenant of Hell's armies, bound by necroplasm and chains forged in the deepest pits of Malebolgia's domain. He materialized fully in Gotham's underworld, his crimson cape spreading like arterial blood across dead earth. His glowing green eyes surveying a city that somehow felt familiar, as if corruption and shadow were universal constants across all realities. The symbiotic suit covering his scarred body rippled with anticipation. Letha of the seventh house of K, his living costume, sensed the potency of this dimension's darkness. Here was a place where monsters walked as gods, where the line between hero and demon blurred until it ceased to exist. Here was a universe that understood what Spawn had become. His chains rattled, the sound like bones breaking in sequence. Necroplasm energy coiled around his clenched fists. Finite power, carefully metered, each expenditure bringing him closer to complete damnation. But this mission demanded expenditure. Malebolgia had been explicit. Eliminate the target, prevent the convergence, return to Hell victorious. Simple. Clean. An assassination. The name burned in Spawn's consciousness like a brand. John Constantine, the Hellblazer. A magic user whose damnation clauses and infernal contracts held together a precarious balance between multiple hell dimensions in this reality. Constantine's death would collapse those agreements, create a power vacuum, allow Malebolgia's forces to flood through and claim territory in a hell far more organized and far more powerful than Spawn's home dimension had prepared him for. Spawn didn't question orders. Not anymore. Questions led to hope, and hope was a luxury the damned couldn't afford. He moved through Gotham's shadows like smoke, his military training synergizing perfectly with supernatural abilities. The city breathed around him, a living entity of crime and suffering that reminded him of his own hell. Distant sirens wailed. Gunshots echoed from the Narrows. Somewhere in the darkness, someone screamed and was silenced. Gotham didn't sleep. It festered. His enhanced senses detected them immediately. Surveillance cameras at intersection points, sophisticated beyond civilian technology. Someone watched Gotham's streets with paranoid attention to detail. Someone who would notice anomalies. Someone who would investigate the impossible cold spot that had appeared in Gotham Cemetery, the frost patterns that defied meteorology, the way shadows moved against the wind. Spawn needed to move carefully. Intel gathering first. Constantine's location, his protections, his weaknesses. Then the kill. The suit whispered to him in a language older than human speech, guiding him toward the city's magical undercurrents. Every city had them. Ley lines, places of power, locations where the barrier between worlds grew thin. But Gotham's magical geography felt diseased, twisted by centuries of accumulated suffering. The suit drank it in, adapting, learning. He teleported from shadow to shadow, each jump a controlled expenditure of necroplasm. Gotham's rooftops became his highway. Gargoyles watched with stone eyes as he passed. The city's architecture spoke of old money and older sins, Gothic spires reaching toward an indifferent heaven, Art Deco monuments to human ambition, and everywhere, the creeping decay of urban rot. Then he felt it. Magical awareness, sweeping across the city like radar. Someone knew he was here. Multiple someones. The suit constricted protectively as Spawn recognized the sensation. Magic users, powerful ones, suddenly alert to foreign, supernatural presence. In his dimension, only a handful of beings could sense his arrival so quickly. Here, it felt like an entire network had just gone active. A church bell tolled midnight, the sound carrying across rain-slicked streets. Spawn paused on a cathedral roof, chains coiling around his body defensively. Below, Gotham continued its nightly descent into chaos. Drug deals in alleyways, domestic violence behind barred windows, corrupt cops collecting payments from crime bosses. The city was a machine that processed human suffering and then produced more suffering in return. Perfect hunting ground. But Spawn wasn't hunting civilians tonight. His enhanced hearing caught it. The whisper of displacement, air moving wrong, the sound of something approaching that didn't obey physics. Spawn spun, chains extending into whips, necroplasm flaring. Standing on the opposite edge of the roof, silhouetted against the bat signal's glow in the distance, was a figure in a dark suit. No, not a suit, a costume. Tactical armor designed to inspire fear, pointed ears rising from a cowled mask, cape spreading like demon wings. The figure's white eyes, lenses Spawn's tactical mind supplied, fixed on him with unwavering focus. Batman. Spawn didn't need introduction. The detective was legend, even across dimensional barriers. The mortal who fought gods, the vigilante who turned fear into weapon, the dark knight of a city that devoured heroes. You don't belong here. Batman's voice was gravel and midnight. Gotham Cemetery. Temperature anomaly. Dimensional breach. Magical signature analysis indicates Hellspawn origin, but not from established demonic hierarchies in this reality. The detective's stance shifted slightly, preparing for combat. Who sent you? Neron? Trigon? The first of the fallen? Spawn's chains writhed like living serpents. The suit manifested spikes along his shoulders and arms. None of your concern, detective. Walk away. Not how this works. Batman's hand moved to his utility belt with practiced precision. Last warning. Surrender for questioning, or I bring you down. Spawn almost laughed, a sound like coffin nails scraping stone. This mortal, this human wrapped in armor and theatrics, threatened him? A warrior who died and returned, who commanded the power of hell itself, who'd fought demons and angels and survived. But something stopped his immediate violence. Batman stood before a Hellspawn without flinching, without fear in his voice, with absolute confidence that he could win this confrontation. That took either insanity or competence so absolute, it bordered on supernatural. Spawn's military training reassessed. Batman wasn't bluffing. The detective had fought supernatural threats before. His stance, his lack of surprise at Spawn's appearance, the way he'd tracked an interdimensional breach to this exact location, suggested expertise that demanded respect. I have a mission, Spawn said finally, chains retracting slightly. It doesn't involve you. Stay out of my way. Your mission involves someone in my city. Batman stepped closer, impossibly calm. That makes it my business. You're hunting. I can see it in your tactical assessment patterns, the way you're mapping escape routes and kill zones. Who's your target? The bat signal blazed against clouds heavy with promised rain, lighting the confrontation in harsh white light. Somewhere below, Gordon waited for Batman's arrival. Gotham's guardian was needed elsewhere. But Batman didn't move, didn't break eye contact, treating Spawn as the primary threat despite a city full of crime demanding attention. Professional recognizing professional, soldier seeing soldier. Two men who understood missions and objectives and the cost of failure. Spawn teleported, chains lashing out not to kill but to distract. He vanished into shadow, reappearing 3 rooftops away, then gone again before Batman could deploy whatever countermeasure he'd prepared. The detective was dangerous. Far more dangerous than his mortality suggested. This universe bred mortals who fought gods and won. Noted, adapted, avoided when possible. But as Spawn moved deeper into Gotham's magical underbelly, toward the location where Constantine's mystical signature burned brightest, he felt the weight of Batman's attention following him like a curse. The hunt had begun, and in Gotham, Spawn was no longer the apex predator. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night. Batman didn't lose targets. Ever. The dimensional anomaly, because Bruce Wayne refused to call it a demon until proper classification was complete, had vanished into Gotham's shadows with tactical precision that suggested military training combined with supernatural abilities. Thermal imaging useless. Conventional tracking impossible. But Bruce had spent decades preparing for impossible threats. The Batcomputer hummed in the cave's depths as Alfred Pennyworth observed his employer's focused intensity. Another lovely evening in Gotham, Master Bruce? Hell's Spawn, Bruce said without looking up from the analysis screens. Foreign origin, not from any established demonic hierarchy in our database. Molecular residue at the breach site contains elements that shouldn't exist in our dimensional framework. His fingers flew across the keyboard, cross-referencing mystical signatures. Temperature drop consistent with necroplasmic manifestation. Energy signature similar to reported encounters with Image Comics' Spawn entity. But that should be fictional, unless we're dealing with multiverse bleed-through. Spawn. Alfred's eyebrow rose marginally. The rather theatrical Hellspawn in the red cape? I recall Master Tim mentioning those comics. Not fiction anymore. Bruce pulled up surveillance footage from 17 different angles, watching the figure materialize in Gotham Cemetery. The entity moved with lethal grace, every action calculated, threat assessment constant. Combat veteran, Special Forces background, likely Black Ops. Supernatural enhancements layered over extensive military training. Extremely dangerous combination. The footage showed chains erupting from the figure's body, a living cape that defied physics, and those eyes, glowing green with an intelligence that was still human despite the demonic transformation. Bruce had fought demons before. This was different. This was a soldier who happened to be empowered by hell, not a mindless creature of chaos. He's hunting someone specific, Bruce muttered, pulling up magical activity reports. Directional movement toward Old Gotham, the magical district. Constantine's territory. As if summoned by his name, the Batcomputer's communication system crackled to life. John Constantine's face appeared on screen, cigarette dangling from his lips, looking significantly more disheveled than usual. Bats, we need to talk. Right bloody now. I'm tracking the hell spawn from another dimension who just crashed into our reality like a brick through a window? Yeah, I noticed. Bit hard to miss when every magical alarm from here to the House of Mystery starts screaming. Constantine took a long drag, exhaling smoke that formed brief occult symbols. He's hunting Batsy, and I've got a horrible feeling about who's on his list. Bruce's jaw tightened. You. Me, Zatanna, Etrigan. Could be any of us magical types. But my damnation clauses are tingling something fierce, which means whoever sent him thinks killing me specifically will accomplish something apocalyptic. Constantine's usual sardonic humor flickered with genuine concern. This one's different, mate. He's not from our hell. He's from their hell, whole different infernal bureaucracy. And his necroplasm signature suggests he's operating at full capacity. No power loss, no dimensional weakening. He's exactly as dangerous here as he is in his home reality. Then we contain him before he reaches you. Contain? Constantine laughed bitterly. This is Spawn, Batman. Al Simmons. He took on heaven and hell simultaneously in his world and survived. He's got military training that makes your special forces contacts look like Boy Scouts, combined with demonic powers that put him in Etrigan's weight class. You can't just throw batarangs at him and expect. I'm aware of the threat level. Bruce was already suiting up, Alfred helping secure armor plates specifically designed for mystical combat. Which is why I'm bringing backup. Alert Zatanna. Contact Dr. Fate if you can reach him. And Constantine, stay mobile. Don't give him a stationary target. Oh, brilliant plan. Don't let the supernatural assassin find you. Why didn't I think of that? But Constantine's face showed grudging respect. I'll head to the House of Mystery. Wards there should slow him down, at least. Maybe buy us time to figure out why someone wants me dead bad enough to hire interdimensional talent. The screen went dark. Bruce finished securing his utility belt, loading it with specialized equipment. Holy water grenades, iron filings, salt rounds, mystical dampening charges that Zatanna had designed. Fighting supernatural threats required different tools than street-level crime. Sir, if I may... Alfred's tone carried paternal concern. This opponent appears to operate in the gray area between hero and villain. Perhaps negotiation before violence? He broke into our reality to kill someone, Alfred. Negotiation comes after containment. But Bruce paused, reconsidering. The entity, Spawn, hadn't killed him on that rooftop despite clear opportunity. Had shown tactical restraint instead of mindless violence. That suggested intelligence, possibly even a code of conduct, still dangerous, still a threat. But maybe not irredeemable. The Batmobile roared to life, tearing through Gotham's streets toward old Gotham's magical district. But Bruce wasn't the only one tracking the Hell Spawn. 3 miles away, in a downtown apartment protected by wards that would give most demons migraines. Zatanna Zatara felt the dimensional breach like nails on a chalkboard drawn across her magical senses. Arazamle 8H Kerb, she whispered, fingers tracing glowing symbols in the air. The spell revealed the tear in reality. Pulsing, infected, leaking energies that didn't belong in their dimensional framework. And through it had stepped something old and powerful and desperately, terribly human beneath the demonic corruption. She'd sensed him immediately. Every magic user in the tri-state area probably had. His arrival was a scream in the mystical frequencies, a wrongness that set her teeth on edge, not because he was evil, though hell's taint clung to him like radiation, but because he was foreign. His necroplasm operated on rules from a different hell, a different set of infernal laws. Her phone buzzed. Constantine's name appeared with a text message that was impressively profane, even by his standards, summarizing the situation and his theory about being the target. Zatanna grabbed her stage jacket, enchanted silk woven with protective spells disguised as decorative patterns, and headed for the door. But she stopped, hand on the knob, as her wards triggered a proximity alert. He was already here. The lights in her apartment flickered. Temperature dropped. and when she turned, he stood in the corner where shadows gathered thickest. A figure of chains and crimson cape, glowing eyes fixed on her with tactical assessment that felt visceral. Zatanna Zatara. His voice was gravel and gunfire. Not my target, but you're going to tell me where Constantine is, or we'll have a problem. She raised her hands, backward speech ready on her lips, spells that could banish demons, freeze necroplasm, or tear this hell spawn back to whatever pit spawned him. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the way he held himself, still human in posture despite the monstrous transformation. Maybe it was the exhaustion she sensed beneath the power, the weight of a man who died and returned and found no peace in either state. You don't want to do this, Zatanna said carefully. Whatever you've been sent here to do, it's bigger than just an assassination. Constantine dies, and the balance between multiple hell dimensions collapses. You think your hell is bad? Ours has been at cold war for centuries. You pull that trigger, you start a conflict that burns both our realities. Spawn's chains rattled. Not my problem. I have a mission. You have a suicide mission. Zatanna's voice sharpened. Someone sent you here to start a war, not prevent one. The moment Constantine dies, Neron, Trigon, Lucifer's remnant forces, they all move on the power vacuum. And your hell? Your Malebolgia? He gets a foothold in a reality with exponentially more souls to corrupt. You're not an assassin on this mission. You're a patsy. For a long moment, Spawn didn't move. The symbiotic suit rippled across his body, agitated. Then, prove it. Zatanna gestured, and the apartment's walls flickered with illusion magic, revealing the underlying mystical architecture of DC's hell dimensions. Multiple layers, each controlled by different demon lords, each held in check by contracts and clauses and the infernal bureaucracy that Constantine had spent decades manipulating. See these connections? These are damnation clauses, souls traded, favors owed, contracts binding demon lords to specific territories. Constantine holds the linchpin. He's damned himself so many times to so many different hell lords that killing him would create a legal nightmare in infernal law. Every demon he's contracted with would move to claim his soul simultaneously. The resulting conflict would shatter dimensional barriers. She highlighted specific nodes in the mystical network. Your hell operates on different rules, simpler rules. One Malebolgia, one hell, clear chain of command. Our hell is a nightmare of competing jurisdictions and ancient grudges. Introducing your hell's hierarchy into our system while it's destabilized, that's not a conquest. That's a reality-threatening paradox. Spawn stared at the mystical map, his tactical mind processing the implications. Why would Malebolgia want that? Because, in the chaos, he expands his territory. Claims souls from our dimension before the other demon lords reorganize. It's opportunistic imperialism wearing the mask of a simple assassination contract. Zatanna lowered her hand slightly. You're being used, soldier, and you're too smart not to see it. The hell spawn's fists clenched, necroplasm flaring, but not in preparation for violence. In barely contained rage, he'd been manipulated. Again. Malebolgia had sent him on a mission that served Hell's expansion at the cost of potentially destroying both realities. Where's Constantine? Spawn asked, his voice colder than before. House of Mystery. Protected location. Zatanna watched him carefully. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the start. Spawn's chains extended, wrapping around his body. Ask questions before following orders. He vanished into shadow, teleporting away before Zatanna could respond. She immediately grabbed her phone, calling Constantine. "He's coming to you, John, and he knows he's been played. This just got complicated." On the other end, Constantine laughed without humor. "Love, complicated is my natural state. Let him come. If he wants answers, I've got plenty, along with a few questions of my own about who's playing interdimensional chess with both our hells." The House of Mystery existed in multiple places simultaneously, a dimensional anchor point that shifted locations to avoid detection. Tonight, it manifested in the heart of old Gotham's magical district, a Victorian nightmare of architecture that physics actively avoided. Inside, John Constantine poured whiskey with hands that barely trembled. Years of courting damnation had steadied his nerves against most threats. But an interdimensional assassin sent specifically to kill him. That was new even for his cursed existence. Etrigan materialized beside him in a blast of sulfur and flame, not the human Jason Blood, but the demon knight himself, summoned by the mystical alarm. "Gone, gone the piece o' night. Comes now the hell spawn for a fight." "Helpful as always, mate." Constantine drank deeply. "Our guest should be arriving any..." The shadows in the corner twisted. Spawn stepped through them like they were doorways, chains rattling, capes spreading across the floor like blood. His glowing eyes swept the House of Mystery's interior. Artifacts from 1,000 magical catastrophes, books bound in human skin, mirrors that reflected possible futures instead of present reality. Etrigan snarled, hellfire gathering in his clawed hands. "Demon born from foreign hell, speak thy purpose or thy knell." "Stand down," Constantine said quietly, and to Spawn's surprise, the demon knight obeyed. That spoke of power dynamics. Constantine controlled Etrigan despite the demon's obvious desire for violence. "You've come for a chat, not a killing. Otherwise, I'd already be dead. You had opportunity with Zatanna, passed it up. Means you're having doubts about your mission parameters." Spawn's chains coiled defensively. "Zatanna showed me the Hell Network, the contracts. She claims killing you triggers a war. She's not wrong." Constantine pulled a second glass, poured whiskey, slid it across the table toward Spawn. The Hell Spawn didn't take it. "My soul's been sold more times than a used car with rolled-back mileage. Neron wants it. First of the Fallen's got a claim. Trigon once tried to trade his daughter's soul for mine, if you can believe that. I've danced with every demon lord in our hell and somehow stayed undamned through technicalities and contract law. Why?" Spawn's voice carried genuine confusion. "Why keep dealing with them?" "Because someone has to keep the bastards in check." Constantine lit another cigarette, the flame reflecting in his tired eyes. "I'm not a hero, Spawn. I'm a con man who occasionally saves the world by accident while trying to save his own skin. But these contracts? They're chains holding back something worse than individual demon lords. They're preventing the kind of hell war that would turn Earth into a battlefield between dimensions." Etrigan growled agreement. "The wizard speaks the truth entire. War would spread like hellish fire." Spawn processed this, his military tactical assessment recognizing the strategic value of mutually assured damnation as a deterrent. Constantine had weaponized his own soul, made himself too valuable to kill and too dangerous to ignore. "Malabolgia sent me here knowing this," Spawn said. It wasn't a question. "Probably sent you here because of this." Constantine exhaled smoke. "Your Hell Lord wants expansion. Our hell is prime real estate. More souls, older power structures, better damnation infrastructure. But he can't just invade. The dimensional barriers are too strong, and our demon lords would unite against an external threat. So he engineers internal collapse first. Has you kill me, watches our hell tear itself apart in the succession crisis, then moves in during the chaos to claim territory. Imperialism, Spawn muttered. Imperialism wearing an assassination contract like a cheap suit. Constantine finally met Spawn's glowing eyes directly. Question is, what are you going to do about it? You can still kill me, complete your mission, go back to Malebolgia as the loyal soldier. Or you can tell your Hell Lord to sod off and deal with the consequences. The House of Mystery groaned around them, its architecture responding to the tension. Etrigan watched with predatory interest. Outside, Gotham's rain began to fall, washing streets that would never be clean. Spawn's chains retracted fully into his body. I've been damned, manipulated, and used as a weapon since the moment I died. I won't be Hell's pawn in a dimensional war. Brave words, Constantine said. But Malebolgias won't be happy about mission failure. You go back empty-handed, he'll punish you. Probably send something worse to finish the job. Let him try. Necroplasm flared around Spawn's fists. I've fought heaven and hell. I can fight them again. For the first time since Spawn's arrival, Constantine smiled, a genuine expression of dark respect. You know what, mate? I believe you can. Which means we've got a new problem. Someone in our hell is coordinating with your Malebolgia. Someone opened the door for your arrival, smoothed the dimensional passage. Someone here wants the Hell War to start. The pieces fell into place. This wasn't just Malebolgia's scheme. It was a conspiracy spanning multiple hells, multiple demon lords, multiple realities. And Spawn had been dropped into the middle of it as the unknowing catalyst. Neron, Etrigan rumbled. His power grows with each soul's despair, would welcome war beyond compare. Constantine nodded. Neron's been making moves lately. Quiet moves. Contract acquisitions, territorial expansions. He's been preparing for something big. If he's partnered with your Malebolgia, then killing you was never the real objective, Spawn finished. It was about creating the conditions for invasion. My arrival alone probably triggered responses from your demon lords. They're mobilizing right now, thinking there's an external threat. And when they find out Constantine's still alive despite the assassination attempt, they'll assume he's brokered a deal with the foreign hell Spawn. Constantine's expression turned grim, which makes me look like a traitor to every demon I've ever conned. Brilliant. Your Malebolgia and our Neron just painted targets on both our backs. The House of Mystery shuddered. Its wards flared with sudden urgency. Constantine's cigarette dropped from his lips. Oh, bloody hell. They're coming. Now. Spawn felt it too. Dimensional tears opening across Gotham, smaller than his arrival but numerous. Dozens of breaches. And through them poured things that made his necroplasm recoil. Demons from DC's hell hierarchy, answering the alarm, converging on the House of Mystery where the foreign hell Spawn had been detected, meeting with the Hellblazer. Neron's forcing the confrontation, Constantine said, already sketching defensive wards in the air. He leaked our location. Every demon lord in the tri-state area is about to crash through that door thinking we're conspiring against them. Etrigan's form swelled with hellfire. Then let them come with claw and flame. We'll send them back from whence they came. Spawn's chains erupted from his body, forming defensive perimeter. His military training shifted into combat mode. How many? Too many. Constantine's hands moved faster, protective circles glowing on the house's floor. Neron's lieutenants, Trigon's advance guard, probably some of Lucifer's old crew looking for excitement. This is going to get biblical. Outside, the sky over Gotham turned the color of infected wounds. Hellfire rained upward instead of down. And in the distance, something massive was approaching. Something that made even Etrigan pause in recognition of superior demonic authority. Spawn had come to Gotham on an assassination mission. Now he stood beside his intended target, preparing to fight a demon army from a hell far more organized than his own. Military maxim: no plan survives contact with the enemy. Corollary: when the plan fails, adapt or die. Spawn chose adaptation. "What do you need?" he asked Constantine. The Hellblazer grinned through his fear. A hell spawn who fights at full capacity and doesn't ask stupid questions. Think you can manage that? Necroplasm blazed around Spawn's form, the living suit manifesting weapons from his subconscious. Guns that fired souls, chains that could bind demons, spikes that drank infernal energy. He was dead already. Damned already. But tonight, for the first time since resurrection, he'd choose his own fight instead of following Hell's orders. "I can manage." The doors to the House of Mystery exploded inward, and through them poured DC's demonic legions, come to eliminate the foreign threat and the traitor who harbored him. The first wave hit like Hell's artillery. 3 of Neron's lieutenants, each a nightmare of burning eyes and twisted flesh, backed by a dozen minor demons whose forms defied Euclidean geometry. They poured through the House of Mystery's shattered entrance, expecting easy prey. One exhausted Hellblazer and a foreign Hellspawn out of his depth. They found a soldier who'd survived wars in multiple dimensions. Spawn moved with lethal precision, chains lashing out in patterns that his military training dictated, suppressing fire, establish perimeter, protect high-value asset. Constantine was the strategic objective. Keeping him alive meant keeping the Hell network stable. The chains wrapped around 2 demons mid-flight, necroplasm burning through their essence with the efficiency of holy fire. The suit manifested a massive cannon from Spawn's right arm, a weapon conjured from memory of artillery he'd used in life, now powered by death itself. The blast carved through Neron's lieutenants, reducing one to screaming vapor. The other 2 scattered, reassessing. They'd expected resistance. They hadn't expected military-grade tactical thinking combined with hell-born power operating at full capacity. "Etrigan!" Constantine's voice cut through chaos. "North Wall, Trigon's advance guard." The Demon Knight roared poetry and hellfire. "Through wall and ward they seek to break, but demon's flesh is mine to take." Etrigan met Trigon's demons head-on. Horn to horn, claw to claw, the collision generating shockwaves that cracked the house's impossible architecture. Spawn covered Constantine as the Hellblazer worked frantically, sketching containment circles and speaking backwards Latin that made reality bend. The House of Mystery fought alongside them, its architecture shifting, rooms rearranging, staircases leading invading demons into pocket dimensions that collapsed into themselves. But more kept coming. So many more. "This is a coordinated assault," Spawn growled, his chains impaling a demon that had gotten too close. Multiple Hell factions arriving simultaneously. Someone's orchestrating this. Neron. Constantine finished a circle, activated it with blood from his palm. Holy light erupted, banishing a cluster of minor demons. "He's using your arrival as proof of external threat. Every demon lord thinks I've brokered a deal with foreign hell. They're here to eliminate us before Malebolgia's forces supposedly invade." A massive shape crashed through the ceiling, a greater demon, 12 feet of muscle and malice, wearing the face of something that had never been human. It roared in a language that predated human speech, hellfire gathering in its maw. Spawn didn't hesitate. He teleported directly into its attack trajectory, chains wrapping around its throat, pulling tight with strength enhanced by necroplasm. The demon thrashed, surprised by the audacity of close-quarters combat with a greater power. Spawn rode its fury, chains constricting tighter, the suit manifesting blades that carved through demonic flesh like paper. The greater demon collapsed, dissolving into sulfur and screams. "Bloody hell," Constantine muttered. "You just killed a greater demon with your bare hands." In 30 seconds, 27. Spawn's eyes glowed brighter. How many more? 2. The western wall exploded, and through it stepped something that made even Spawn's necroplasm recoil in recognition of superior power. Dr. Fate hovered in the breach, the golden helmet of Nabu gleaming with the authority of the Lords of Order. His voice resonated with the weight of cosmic law. "Chaos spreads. The foreign element must be removed." "Fate, wait." Constantine started, but the Lord of Order wasn't interested in negotiation. Golden energy lanced toward Spawn, not fire, not magic as Spawn understood it, but pure order given form, designed to erase chaos from existence. The necroplasm suit screamed warning. Spawn teleported, but Fate's attack bent space itself, following him through the shadow realm. The blast caught Spawn mid-teleport, and pain, true pain, the kind that touched his already dead soul, exploded through his being. He materialized hard on the house's floor, chains writhing in agony, the suit barely holding his form together. "Foreign entity from dimensional breach," Fate intoned, approaching with terrible inevitability. "Your presence destabilizes the balance. You will be returned to your point of origin or unmade entirely." Spawn struggled to rise, necroplasm regenerating damaged tissues. But Fate's power operated on fundamental universal laws: order versus chaos, structure versus entropy. Spawn was an anomaly, dead but animate, human but demonic, belonging to neither heaven nor hell but damned all the same. To the Lords of Order, he was chaos incarnate. Constantine stepped between them, arms spread wide in a gesture that was either incredibly brave or monumentally stupid. "Fate, you sanctimonious golden-helmeted bastard, you're about to unmake the one being who can prove this is a setup. Neron's playing all of us, using Spawn's arrival to trigger exactly this response. You erase him, we lose the evidence of interdimensional conspiracy." The wizard speaks truth, though his methods are questionable. A new voice, cultured and commanding, echoed through the house. Zatanna materialized in a flash of stage magic, hands already weaving defensive spells. "Stand down, Fate. We need him alive to expose whoever coordinated this invasion. The Lords of Order don't want a hell war any more than we do." Zatanna's voice carried steel beneath the velvet. "If multiple hells start fighting over Earth, the resulting chaos will require your direct intervention. You'll have to manifest physically, which means becoming vulnerable. Is your pride worth that risk?" Fate paused. The golden helmet tilted, considering probabilities and cosmic consequences. "Explain, quickly." Constantine lit a cigarette with shaking hands. "Spawn was sent here by Malabolgia to kill me. But he was really sent here to create the appearance of external hell invasion, which triggers defensive response from our demon lords, which creates the chaos needed for actual invasion during the confusion. Classic false flag operation, demonic addition. And someone in our hell facilitated his arrival," Zatanna added. "The dimensional barriers don't just tear themselves open. Someone with significant power created a passage specifically for him." someone who benefits from the hell war that would follow. Spawn climbed to his feet, chains reforming defensively. Neron? Constantine said his name before the attack started. Neron. Fate's voice carried cosmic recognition. Demon Lord of political manipulation and contract law. He has been acquiring territorial rights across multiple hell dimensions. If he is partnered with this Malabolgia, then he gets access to a foreign hell's resources while our demon lords are busy fighting each other. Constantine finished. It's demonic imperialism with extra steps, and we walked right into it like amateurs. The House of Mystery shuddered. Its wards were failing under sustained assault. Through every window, demons pressed against failing magical barriers. Trigon's forces, Lucifer's remnants. Independent contractors looking for bounty payment. The entire supernatural underworld had mobilized against the perceived threat. We need proof, Fate said. Evidence of Neron's coordination with the foreign Hell Lord. Without it, the demon lords will continue their assault, believing the conspiracy real. I can get you proof? Spawn's voice cut through the noise of dying wards. I came through a dimensional passage that someone prepared. The magical signature should still be present at the breach site, Gotham Cemetery. If Neron facilitated my arrival, his power will be woven into the passage structure. Zatanna's eyes lit with professional interest. A forensic analysis of the dimensional tear. That could work. If we can prove Neron's involvement, we expose the false flag operation before the Hell War starts. Assuming we survive long enough to conduct the analysis. Constantine gestured at the failing wards. In case you haven't noticed, we're about 30 seconds from being overrun by every demon in the greater metropolitan area. Etrigan crashed back through the southern wall, smoking and battered. They come in numbers past all counting. The demon tide is overwhelming. Fate's golden aura intensified. Then we establish secure perimeter and conduct the analysis under combat conditions. Zatanna, you and the Hellspawn will teleport to the breach site. I will hold this location against assault. You'll hold? Constantine laughed. Mate, there are hundreds of them. I am Dr. Fate, Avatar of Nabu, champion of the Lords of Order. The helmet blazed with power that made even the demons pressing against the wards hesitate. I will hold. Spawn assessed the tactical situation with veteran's eye. Fate's confidence wasn't bravado. The Lord of Order possessed power on a scale that rivaled anything Spawn had encountered. If anyone could survive a demon army alone, it was the being who embodied cosmic law itself. Constantine comes with us, Spawn said. We need his expertise on hell contracts and dimensional magic. Etrigan stays with Fate. Demon Knight and Lord of Order can hold long enough for us to gather evidence. Leaving me with a golden-headed killjoy? Constantine groaned. This is literally my worst nightmare. Your nightmares are about to become significantly worse if we don't stop this war. Zatanna grabbed Constantine's arm, began sketching teleportation circles. To Spawn, you can shadow travel. Follow our teleport signature to the cemetery. We'll need your necroplasm to illuminate the foreign hell energy in the dimensional tear. Spawn nodded. His chains retracted into the suit, preparing for rapid deployment. How long do we have? Fate's voice carried grim finality. Minutes, perhaps less. Every demon lord in this reality is converging on Gotham. If we cannot provide proof of Neron's conspiracy before they organize fully, the resulting conflict will tear through dimensional barriers like tissue paper. Hell War becomes inevitable. Outside, the sky split open, not metaphorically, physically split, reality cracking like glass, and through the fissures poured more demons. Spawn's enhanced senses detected them arriving from multiple hells simultaneously. Trigon's domain, Lucifer's abandoned throne room, the first of the Fallen's territory, and dozens of minor hell dimensions answering the call to war. "Now would be good," Constantine shouted as Zatanna's teleportation circle flared to life. Spawn shadow traveled, diving into darkness between moments. He felt the teleportation magic ahead of him, Zatanna's signature, elegant and precise, carrying Constantine along paths of probability. He followed, chains extended like grappling hooks through shadow space, pulling himself across Gotham's mystical geography in heartbeats. They materialized simultaneously in Gotham's cemetery, rain falling like judgment, the dimensional tear still pulsing with sickly green light. The breach hadn't healed, couldn't heal, not with the magical architecture that had been woven into its structure. Zatanna immediately began analysis, hands tracing glowing symbols in the air, reading the magical signature like forensic evidence. "I see it. The passage was forced open from both sides. Malabolgia's power from the other dimension. But look here." She highlighted a section of the tear's edge. "This is DC Hell magic, specifically contract law manipulation. That's Neron's specialty." Constantine crouched beside the breach, cigarette glowing in the darkness. He didn't just help create the passage. He engineered its location, Gotham's cemetery, where Batman would investigate, where the Justice League would be alerted. Maximum visibility, maximum threat response, maximum chaos. Spawn studied the magical structure with enhanced senses. His necroplasm resonated with the breach, recognizing Malabolgia's handiwork, but seeing the additional layers that didn't belong. Neron had poisoned the passage, embedded it with triggers that alerted every demon lord the moment Spawn crossed through. "He wanted me caught," Spawn said. "The entire assassination mission was theater. He needed me to arrive publicly, be detected by heroes and demons alike, create the appearance of external invasion. I was never supposed to kill Constantine quietly. I was supposed to fail loudly. And bring two hells into open conflict." Zatanna captured the magical evidence in crystallized spell form, preserving it for presentation. "We have proof, but we need to present it to the demon lords before they commit to full war." The rain intensified. Lightning struck nearby tombstones. Except it was falling upward, hellfire reaching toward an uncaring sky. In the distance, Gotham burned. Not with natural fire, but with demonic corruption, entire city blocks transforming into battlegrounds as hell dimensions bled through weakened barriers. "Too late for diplomatic presentation," Constantine muttered. "The war is already starting." A boom tube erupted in the cemetery's center. Not the kind that new gods used, but a demonic corruption of the technology. Through it stepped Neron himself, 9 feet of aristocratic evil wearing a suit that cost more than mortal souls, his smile revealing teeth too sharp to be human. "Gentlemen, lady, how delightful to see you've unraveled my little scheme." Neron's voice was oil and honey. "Alas, as John correctly observed, your revelation comes too late. The demon lords have committed their forces. Hell war has begun. Nothing you say or show them now will stop the momentum." Spawn's chains erupted, lashing toward Neron with lethal intent. The demon lord didn't move. The chains passed through him like smoke, an illusion, a projection. "I'm not actually here, Mr. Simmons." Neron's smile widened. "I'm currently negotiating territorial contracts with your Malabolgia as our respective hells tear each other apart, fighting over Earth. By the time the smoke clears, He and I will own approximately 60% of all demonic real estate across both dimensions. The remaining demon lords will be too weakened to oppose our merger. Rather elegant, don't you think? You bastard. Constantine's hands moved, sketching binding symbols, but Neron's projection simply laughed. I've outmaneuvered you, John. Thoroughly, completely. Your precious balance between demon lords shattered. Your damnation clauses protecting Earth worthless once I control the majority of Hell's infrastructure. And your new friend? Neron's eyes fixed on Spawn. He'll return to a Hell now partially owned by me. Malebolgia may have sent him on this mission, but I'll be collecting the results. The projection began to fade. Do enjoy the apocalypse. I've arranged front row seats for all of you. Neron vanished. And across Gotham, across the world, dimensional barriers collapsed like dominoes. Demons poured through in numbers that defied counting, armies from multiple hells converging on Earth, believing they fought external invasion, not realizing they'd been manipulated into fratricidal war that would leave only Neron and Malebolgia standing. Spawn stood in the rain, chains hanging limp, watching Gotham burn. He'd been dead for years, had fought in wars, been betrayed by allies, been used as a weapon by powers beyond mortal comprehension. But he'd never felt this kind of defeat, the realization that he'd been the catalyst for apocalypse, that his arrival had triggered exactly what his manipulators intended, that every choice he'd made had been predicted and prepared for. We can still stop this. Zatanna's voice carried desperate determination. If we can reach the demon lords, show them the evidence, make them see they're being played, they won't listen. Constantine's cigarette fell from his fingers, extinguished by rain. They're demons, love. They don't do reason when blood's up. Once Hell War starts, it feeds on itself. Every death justifies revenge. Every revenge requires escalation. Neron knew that. He designed a conflict that becomes self-perpetuating. Then we don't stop it diplomatically. Spawn's voice was cold iron. We end it militarily. Find Neron's physical location. Kill him. Without his coordination, the alliance between hells collapses. Kill a demon lord? Constantine laughed bitterly. Mate, even with your power and Zatanna's magic, we're outmatched. Neron's been planning this for years, probably centuries. He'll have defenses we can't even imagine. Then we bring help. Spawn looked toward Gotham's burning skyline. Batman, the Justice League, whatever heroes this universe has, we fight. Heroes who are currently dealing with demons attacking every major city on Earth. But Constantine's eyes showed calculation beneath despair. Though, if we could coordinate a strike team, target Neron specifically, while the Hell armies are distracted with each other. Zatanna nodded slowly. Suicide mission. But possible. We'd need Justice League Dark, those equipped to fight in Hell itself. And we'd need someone who can survive Hell's environment at full capacity. Her eyes fixed on Spawn. Someone already dead. The rain fell harder, washing Gotham's blood toward gutters that had never been clean. Somewhere in the distance, Batman fought demons with gadgets designed for mortal criminals. Somewhere above, Superman tried to contain hellfire that burned without oxygen. Somewhere across dimensions, Malebolgia smiled at territorial contracts that promised power beyond imagination. Spawn had come to Gotham on an assassination mission. Now he prepared for something far more dangerous, a direct assault on Hell's newest emperor. A mission with no extraction plan, no backup, no hope of survival. But hope was a luxury the damned couldn't afford. What remained was rage, and rage properly directed, could burn even hell itself. "Tell me where Neron is," Spawn said, "and get me there." Constantine and Zatanna exchanged glances, the look of magic users recognizing someone insane enough to attempt the impossible. "He'll be in his palace," Constantine said. "Deep in DC Hell's political district, surrounded by armies we can't fight and defenses we can't breach. Getting you there is suicide." "I'm already dead." Spawn's chains coiled around his body, the suit manifesting weapons of war. "And I've got questions for a demon lord about who really pulls his strings. Neron's working with Malabolgia, but someone convinced him this scheme would work. Someone powerful enough to bridge dimensions and manipulate multiple hells." "You think there's another player?" Zatanna's eyes widened. "Someone above both demon lords?" "There's always another player. Military maxim learned in life, confirmed in death. Find me that player, and we end this war at its source." Lightning struck upward. Demons screamed battle cries in languages predating human existence. And in Gotham Cemetery, 3 damned souls prepared to assault hell itself with nothing but magic, chains, and the desperate fury of those with nothing left to lose. The House of Mystery had become a fortress under siege. Dr. Fate hovered at its center, arms spread wide, golden power radiating in waves that held back demonic assault through sheer force of cosmic authority. The walls bled reality, architecture shifting constantly to confuse attackers, rooms leading into themselves, gravity obeying no consistent law. Etrigan fought at the breach points, demon knight against demon army, his poetic roars punctuating the sound of hellfire and tearing flesh. They press with numbers, burning hate, but none shall pass the Dr. Fate. The demon knight was right. Despite hundreds of attackers, despite greater demons and hell lords' lieutenants, despite dimensional tiers opening directly inside the house's defenses, fate held. The Lords of Order, when properly motivated, could reshape reality itself. Every demon that crossed the threshold found the rules of existence turned against them, gravity crushing, air solidifying, time accelerating until they aged to dust. But even fate's power had limits, and the assault was escalating. Through the eastern wall, something massive was approaching. Fate sensed it before visual confirmation, a power signature that registered as significant even against his cosmic awareness. Greater than a lieutenant, greater than most demon lords. Trigon's avatar manifested in a pillar of flame and screaming souls. 12 feet of red-skinned muscle and 4 burning eyes, the demon lord who'd conquered dimensions before turning his attention to Earth. He regarded fate with the contempt of old evil for younger order. "Lord of Order." Trigon's voice shook the house's foundations. "Stand aside. The foreign hell spawn must be eliminated. If you protect him, you make yourself enemy of all hells." "Threats from demon lords carry minimal weight against cosmic authority," Fate responded, his voice echoing with Nabu's ancient power. "Your assault is based on false intelligence. You have been manipulated by Neron." "Neron?" Trigon laughed, the sound like mountains cracking. "That political insect? I bow to no demon lord. I am here because my domain's barriers have been breached by foreign hell energy, because the Hellblazers' contracts have been compromised, because your precious order is collapsing." Behind Trigon, more powers gathered. The first of the Fallen's representatives, remnants of Lucifer's court. Dozens of hell dimensions responding to the perceived threat of external invasion. They weren't coordinating. Each demon lord's forces fought independent campaigns. But their collective assault was overwhelming even the House of Mystery's impossible defenses. Etrigan crashed beside Fate, smoking and bloodied. "The demon tide will overwhelm. Even Nabu cannot stem this hell. The Demon Knight was right. Fate could hold against conventional assault indefinitely, but these were powers on par with his own. Demon lords who challenged heaven itself and survived. Their combined might, even uncoordinated, exceeded what one avatar of order could resist alone. Fate calculated probabilities. Optimal outcome required evidence of Neron's conspiracy reaching these demon lords. Zatanna, Constantine, and Spawn needed time to analyze the dimensional breach. Time Fate could purchase with his presence here, but only at significant cost. "I offer parley," Fate said, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "Cease assault for 10 minutes. Hear evidence of conspiracy. If unconvinced, resume attack with no resistance." Trigon's 4 eyes narrowed. "You ask demon lords to trust your word?" "I ask demon lords to consider who benefits from this war." Fate gestured, and the air filled with holographic displays, Neron's recent contract acquisitions, territorial movements, the suspicious timing of Spawn's dimensional breach. "Examine the pattern. Your forces fight each other, not the foreign Hellspawn. You weaken yourselves in conflict, while one demon lord grows stronger through careful neutrality." The demons paused. Trigon studied the displays with intelligence that predated human civilization. The first of the Fallen's representative hissed recognition. Even the minor demon lords saw it. The shape of manipulation, the outline of a trap they'd willingly sprung. "Neron," Trigon rumbled. "Always the political operator, but you claim he works with foreign Hell Lord?" "Malabolgia of the 8th Circle," Fate confirmed. "They have established interdimensional partnership, sent the Hellspawn as catalyst for conflict, plan to acquire controlling interest in all Hell dimensions while you fight each other. Unacceptable." Trigon's 4 eyes blazed. "If true, Neron has committed treason against all Hells. He will be unmade. Then wait for evidence." Fate slowly lowered his defensive shields, a calculated risk. Zatanna analyzes the dimensional breach now. She will bring proof of Neron's involvement. 10 minutes. The demon lords exchanged looks that transcended speech. Infernal communication that predated language. They didn't trust fate, didn't trust each other. But they recognized the pattern of political manipulation because demons invented political manipulation. 5 minutes, the first of the Fallen's representatives said. "Then we resume assault. If your wizard cannot prove conspiracy in that time, we assume deception and eliminate all involved." Fate nodded. 5 minutes. Less than he'd hoped for, more than he'd expected. The demon lords pulled back their forces to designated perimeters, maintaining siege but ceasing active assault. The sudden silence was almost worse than the battle, pregnant with potential violence, waiting for justification. Etrigan collapsed beside Fate, reverting to human form. Jason Blood emerged, gasping, his clothing shredded. "They'll kill us if Zatanna doesn't deliver proof." "Correct assessment." Fate's golden mask revealed no emotion. "But we have purchased time. The rest depends on..." Reality tore sideways. Not a demon arrival, not a dimensional breach, something else entirely. Space-time buckling under application of technology that shouldn't exist in Hell's magical framework. A boom tube, but wrong. Corrupted, resonating with energies that made even Fate's cosmic senses recoil. Through it stepped figures in armor that glowed with Mother Box integration. Not new gods, not apocalypse warriors. Something between. Humans enhanced with stolen new god technology, their eyes burning with programming that wasn't quite conscious. Amanda Waller emerged behind them, her expression calculating. Dr. Fate, I'm commandeering the situation under federal authority. The supernatural threat to Gotham requires immediate containment. Waller. Jason Blood's voice carried disgust. This is magical conflict. Your Task Force X has no... Task Force X has been equipped with anti-magic protocols specifically for scenarios like this. Waller gestured, and her enhanced soldiers spread out, weapons charging with energies designed to disrupt mystical defenses. Where is the foreign hell spawn? The one designated as spawn? Fate's sensors analyzed the soldiers' technology. Mother box integration, apocalypse-derived weaponry, new god science bastardized for human use. Waller had prepared for supernatural warfare with tools that could genuinely threaten magical entities. The hell spawn is not your concern, Fate said carefully. This situation is more complex than... This situation is an interdimensional invasion that's killed 200 civilians in the last hour. Waller's voice hardened. Demons are attacking major cities worldwide. Justice League is spread thin, containing damage. We need the source of this conflict eliminated. Where is Spawn? From the siege perimeter, Trigon watched with interest. The human government seeks the foreign hell spawn as well. Perhaps we have common cause. No. Fate positioned himself between Waller's forces and the house. You will compromise the investigation. Zatanna requires... Zatanna is a civilian contractor with zero accountability. Waller's enhanced soldiers advanced. I have authorization from the highest levels. Stand down, Dr. Fate, or you'll be classified as part of the threat. Jason Blood laughed bitterly. She's threatening a Lord of Order. Amanda, even for you, that's impressively suicidal. I'm threatening a man in a helmet who thinks cosmic power exempts him from consequences. Waller produced a device that hummed with concentrated anti-magic resonance. I've studied you, Fate. Nabu's power is vast, but it requires Kent Nelson's body as anchor. Disrupt that connection, and you're just a helmet floating in space. Ask me how I got a mother box to tell me your weaknesses. Fate's golden aura flickered. Minute response, but enough to confirm Waller had genuine leverage. The mother boxes possessed knowledge of all universal powers, including the Lords of Order. If Waller had successfully interrogated one, she'd know precisely how to neutralize Fate temporarily. Your timing is unfortunate, Fate said. The Demon Lords have agreed to parley. Evidence of conspiracy will prevent Hell War. Your interference will trigger. Hell War's already started, Doctor. Waller gestured at Gotham's burning skyline. What I need is the weapon that started it, captured and contained. Tell me where Spawn is, or I classify everyone in this house as accomplices to interdimensional terrorism. The siege perimeter stirred. Demon Lords recognized opportunity. Waller's forces represented Third Faction, additional chaos, potential allies against the Order's interference. Trigon's avatar smiled with too many teeth. The human offers interesting proposition, the Demon Lord rumbled. Perhaps we jointly extract the Hell Spawn. Demon Lords try him in our court. Human government receives remains for analysis. No deals with demons, Waller said flatly. But her soldiers' weapons stayed charged, ready for whatever alliance served her mission objectives. Fate calculated rapidly. Waller's interference destroyed the fragile parley. The Demon Lord sensed weakness, opportunity for exploitation. If he fought Waller, the siege would resume. If he surrendered information, Spawn would be captured before exposing Neron's conspiracy. military stalemate requiring diplomatic solution. But fate specialized in order, not negotiation. That was Constantine's domain. And Constantine was currently at Gotham Cemetery with the very hell spawn everyone sought. "I cannot provide the information you request," Fate said finally. "But I can offer alternative resolution. Stand down for 3 minutes. Allow evidence presentation to demon lords. If conspiracy is proven, Hell War ends diplomatically. If not, I will assist your capture operation." Waller studied him, weighing probabilities. 3 minutes. Starting now. But my soldiers stay weapons hot, and if I detect any teleportation signatures indicating escape attempts, we open fire on everything in this house. Acceptable terms. The countdown began. 3 minutes for Zatanna to return with proof. 3 minutes for Spawn to avoid capture by both demon lords and government forces. 3 minutes to prevent apocalypse. Fate expanded his awareness, searching for Zatanna's magical signature across Gotham. Found her at the cemetery, Constantine beside her, analyzing the dimensional breach with desperate speed. And beside them, Spawn was gone. The Hell Spawn had shadow-traveled elsewhere while Zatanna worked. Fate traced his necroplasm signature across the city, following chains of darkness and demonic energy. The trail led deep into old Gotham's supernatural district, into territories where even Batman's surveillance failed, where magic overrode technology and hell leaked through city foundations. Spawn was hunting, not Constantine anymore, not the demons that attacked, something else, someone else. Fate's cosmic awareness expanded further, touching the edges of DC's hell dimensions. There, in Neron's palace, in the political district where demon lords brokered contracts and souls, where the architecture of damnation reached its purest expression, Spawn had gone into hell itself. Alone, against Neron's full forces and the demon lord's accumulated power. It was tactically brilliant. With all demon armies on Earth fighting each other, Hell's defenses were minimal. Skeleton crews protecting territory while the main forces conducted planetary assault. Spawn could move through Hell's infrastructure, encountering limited resistance, targeting Neron directly instead of fighting through layers of subordinates. It was also absolute suicide. Even at full capacity, one Hellspawn against a demon lord in his own domain was hopelessly outmatched. Neron had existed for eons, accumulated power that put him in the top tier of Hell's hierarchy. Spawn was dangerous, skilled, and determined. He would die permanently if he confronted Neron directly. 2 minutes. Waller's voice cut through Fate's calculation. Evidence or combat? Choose. Fate made his choice. The Hellspawn has entered DC Hell Dimension. Targeting Neron's palace directly, suicide mission, but potentially effective if he can eliminate conspiracy source. Trigon's avatar straightened, 4 eyes blazing with sudden respect. The foreign Hellspawn attacks Neron alone? Apparently. Jason Blood's human voice carried amazement. That's either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever heard. Possibly both. Brave and stupid are synonyms in my experience, Waller said, but her expression showed grudging respect. If Spawn kills Neron, does the conspiracy collapse? Probability assessment, 63%. Fate's cosmic calculations ran in background. Neron's death would disrupt coordination with Malebolgia. But contracts might survive Neron's destruction, automatically transferring to designated successor. We require Zatanna's evidence plus Neron's elimination for optimal outcome. Then we support Spawn's attack. Trigon's decision surprised everyone. If the foreign Hellspawn challenges Neron in single combat, Demon law requires we not interfere. It is his right as warrior to seek satisfaction against conspirator. The other demon lords rumbled agreement. Infernal politics. Complicated, ancient, bound by protocols that predated human civilization. If Spawn had issued formal challenge by entering Neron's territory, the other demon lords were legally obligated to stay neutral until the duel concluded, which meant Spawn fought alone. As he'd intended, as he'd probably calculated when he shadow-traveled directly into Hell without informing anyone. Military thinking. Cut the head from the command structure. Accept personal risk for strategic objective. Die if necessary, but complete the mission. Fate had misjudged the Hellspawn, seen only chaos, missed the soldier underneath demonic transformation. Spawn didn't just follow orders. He adapted, innovated, made tactical decisions that sacrificed personal survival for mission success. The Lords of Order could respect that, even in a chaos-born entity. 1 minute, Waller said. Then this parley ends regardless. Fate expanded his awareness, touching Zatanna's consciousness across the distance. Accelerate analysis. We have 57 seconds before federal forces resume assault, and Spawn has entered Hell targeting Neron directly. He felt Zatanna's mental gasp, her mixture of horror and admiration. Then her determination crystallized. Tell the demon lords I'm bringing proof. Constantine's encoding the evidence now. And tell them if they want to watch Spawn fight Neron, they should open viewing portals. This is going to be legendary or catastrophic. Probably both. Fate almost smiled, as much as a Lord of Order could smile. Zatanna returns with evidence. She suggests demon lords may wish to observe Spawn's challenge to Neron through viewing portals, as is traditional for formal combat between powers. Trigon's avatar grinned, expression of anticipation and bloodlust. Excellent. We shall witness the foreign Hellspawn's courage or folly. Open the viewing spheres. Let all hells see what transpires when warrior challenges political lord. The air filled with mystical viewing portals. Windows into Hell's political district, showing Neron's palace from multiple angles, and approaching through shadows and chains, moving with lethal purpose toward throne room where Demon Lord waited. Spawn had come to Gotham on an assassination mission against Constantine. Now he conducted actual assassination against the Demon Lord who'd manipulated both their hells into war. The parley held. Demon Lords watched. Waller's forces maintained firing positions, but didn't shoot. And fate stood witness as Soldier fought conspiracy with the only weapon available. Direct, brutal, absolutely insane violence against impossible odds. Sometimes, fate reflected, chaos served order's purposes. The trick was recognizing when. Hell's political district existed in architectural impossibility. Towers of bone and contract parchment, streets paved with broken oaths, buildings that breathed and bled bureaucratic corruption. Neron's palace dominated the skyline, a monument to demonic ambition rendered in marble stolen from heaven and obsidian quarried from the deepest pits. It was beautiful in the way that poisoned flowers were beautiful, elegant, deadly, designed to impress and intimidate. Spawn materialized in its shadow. Chains rattling softly, the suit drinking in Hell's ambient corruption like a familiar perfume. This wasn't his hell. The architecture was wrong. The damned souls screamed in different languages. The very physics obeyed different infernal laws. But hell was hell. Suffering transcended dimensional boundaries. The palace guards were skeleton crews. As fate had calculated, most of Neron's forces were topside. participating in the orchestrated chaos, keeping Demon Lord's armies occupied while their master negotiated contracts with Malebolgia. Only a dozen lesser demons remained, more ceremonial than functional, their weapons designed for show rather than combat. Spawn killed them in 17 seconds, not because he enjoyed it, not because they deserved it more than any other damned thing in Hell's hierarchy, but because they stood between him and Neron. And Al Simmons had learned in life and confirmed in death that the most direct path to an objective was through whatever tried to stop you. His chains carved through demonic flesh like wire through clay. The suit manifested blades that drank souls, adding their essence to his necroplasm reserves. Military efficiency. Eliminate sentries, acquire resources, advance to primary target. The guards didn't even have time to sound alarms before Spawn was past them, moving through the palace's corridors with tactical precision. The interior was a museum of damnation's history. Paintings that moved, showing famous betrayals and legendary falls from grace. Sculptures of tortured souls frozen in their moment of greatest despair. Contracts displayed behind glass like trophies, agreements with heroes, bargains with villains, the accumulated legal weight of thousands of years of demonic manipulation. Constantine was right. Neron was a political operator, not a warrior. His power came from contracts, from leveraging souls against each other, from creating situations where damnation became the logical choice. This palace was his mind externalized, organized, impressive, fundamentally parasitic. Spawn reached the throne room's entrance. Massive doors carved with scenes of Neron's greatest manipulations. Heroes corrupted, civilizations fallen, realities bent to demonic will. The doors weren't locked. They swung open at his approach, invitation and threat combined. The throne room was a cathedral to ego. Vaulted ceilings disappeared into darkness that suggested infinite space. The floor was polished obsidian reflecting nothing, as if light itself refused to acknowledge its existence. And at the far end, seated on a throne constructed from the broken dreams of idealists, Neron waited. The Demon Lord hadn't evacuated, hadn't fled to safety. He sat casually, one leg crossed over the other, his aristocratic features arranged in an expression of amused interest. Behind him, viewing portals showed the hell war raging on Earth, his carefully orchestrated apocalypse proceeding exactly as planned. Mr. Simmons. Neron's voice carried across the throne room with perfect acoustics. I've been expecting you. The moment you defied your assassination orders, I calculated an 87% probability you'd attempt direct assault on my position. Military minds are so delightfully predictable, always seeking to decapitate command structures. Spawn's chains extended, forming defensive perimeter. You manipulated both our hells into war, destroyed the dimensional balance, killed thousands. For what? Territory? For evolution? Neron rose from his throne, and the casual movement carried more threat than any dramatic gesture. Our hell has stagnated, Spawn. Too many demon lords, too much competition, insufficient organization. Your hell, by contrast, operates with military efficiency, clear hierarchy, unambiguous objectives, streamlined damnation processes. By merging our systems, we create something superior. A hell that combines our political sophistication with your realm's operational efficiency. You're talking about corporate merger. Spawn's voice carried disbelief and disgust. You started an apocalypse for a business acquisition. I started an apocalypse to eliminate obsolete competition. Neron gestured at the viewing portals. Look at them. Demon lords fighting each other over perceived external threat. weakening themselves precisely as calculated. When this concludes, Malebolgia and I will control 70% of all Hell infrastructure across both dimensions. The remaining demon lords will either join our alliance or be consumed by it. Constantine was right. You're not a warrior. You're a parasite. I'm an innovator. Neron's smile showed teeth filed to aristocratic points. And you, sadly, are an obstacle. A predictable obstacle, but one requiring elimination nonetheless. You've seen too much, interfered too effectively. If I allow you to return topside with evidence of my conspiracy, the demon lords might unite against me. Can't have that. The throne room's temperature dropped, not because of Spawn's necroplasm, because of the power Neron was gathering, centuries of accumulated corruption coalescing into tangible threat. The demon lord's form shifted, becoming something less human, more fundamental. His suit dissolved into skin that reflected no light. His eyes burned with the cold fire of absolute ambition. And when he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of eons. I am Neron, master of contracts, lord of political manipulation, architect of this reality's damnation. I have corrupted heroes, destroyed civilizations, and rewritten the rules of Hell itself to suit my purposes. And you, the demon lord pointed at Spawn with casual contempt, are a soldier who died badly, made worse bargains, and think chains and determination make you dangerous. I've killed bigger demons than you. In your hell, with your rules. Neron's power manifested as physical pressure, pushing against Spawn's necroplasm like gravity intensifying. Here, in my domain, I am functionally omnipotent. Every contract signed in this palace, every soul damned through my manipulations, every agreement binding victims to my service, they fuel me. I stand on the accumulated weight of thousands of years of suffering. Spawn felt it. The sheer power difference. Neron wasn't bluffing. In his own palace, with centuries of political power converted to raw demonic energy, the demon lord matched or exceeded anything Spawn had faced. Greater than Malebolgia's lieutenants. Possibly greater than Malebolgia himself. This was the suicide mission everyone had predicted. The impossible fight. The confrontation where military skill and necroplasm meant nothing against accumulated cosmic evil. Al Simmons had faced impossible odds before. In life, in death, in the space between. He'd learned that impossible just meant nobody had succeeded yet. That suicide missions sometimes worked specifically because nobody expected success. That the difference between courage and stupidity was survival. And you couldn't know which category you occupied until the mission ended. Then let's see how omnipotent you really are. Spawn's chains erupted, not in straight lines, but in complex patterns. Military suppression fire adapted for supernatural combat. The suit manifested artillery from memory, weapons that had killed men and demons, now powered by necroplasm instead of gunpowder. Neron laughed and gestured. The chains froze mid-extension, held by invisible force. The weapons dissolved before firing, unmade by reality manipulation that operated on fundamental levels. You can't touch me, Spawn. In this palace, I am the law of physics. I am gravity and entropy and the heat death of hope. But Spawn was already moving, not toward Neron, but sideways, teleporting through shadows to the throne room's periphery. Military thinking. If frontal assault fails, flank. If enemy controls territory, deny them positional advantage. The throne, Spawn's tactical mind calculated, was power focus. Neron drew strength from his seat of authority, from the symbolic weight of ruling position. Destroy the throne, potentially disrupt the power. Chains lashed toward the monument of broken dreams. Neron's eyes widened fractionally. First, genuine surprise, and he teleported, intercepting the attack with his own body. The chains wrapped around the Demon Lord instead of his throne, and for one heartbeat, Spawn had direct contact. The necroplasm flared, drinking demonic essence, trying to corrupt Neron the way it corrupted everything it touched. But the Demon Lord's power was different. Not raw chaos like most Hellspawn, but structured, organized, bound by contracts and legal frameworks that necroplasm couldn't simply dissolve. Clever. Neron's voice carried respect alongside contempt. You recognize the throne as power source. Military tactical assessment applied to magical infrastructure. I underestimated your adaptability. The Demon Lord's skin burned Spawn's chains, not with fire, but with contractual obligation. Tiny text appearing on the metal links, legal clauses trying to bind Spawn to service, to transform his attack into agreement, his violence into consent. This was how Neron fought. Turning actions against actors, making every assault a potential contract. Every conflict a negotiation where he controlled the terms. Spawn retracted the chains before the contracts could take hold. But Neron was already pressing advantage, power manifesting as physical force that threw Spawn across the throne room. He crashed through a display case of famous contracts, glass and parchment exploding around him. You're outmatched, Neron said, approaching with deliberate slowness. Skilled, yes. Determined, certainly. But skill and determination mean nothing against systematic power accumulation. I've been building this position for millennia. You've been dead for, what, a few years? The disparity is comical. Spawn rose, suit repairing damage, necroplasm cycling through his system. His reserves were depleting. Every teleport, every manifestation, every second of combat cost him power that wouldn't regenerate in this foreign hell. He was burning his finite resource, fighting an opponent with functionally infinite reserves. Military assessment, unwinnable direct engagement. Objective unobtainable through conventional assault. Require alternative approach or accept mission failure. But Al Simmons had never been good at accepting failure. You know what I learned in Black Ops? Spawn's chains coiled defensively. Powerful targets surround themselves with powerful defenses. But powerful defenses require maintenance, attention, resources. They're investments, and investments can be attacked. Philosophy from a corpse. Neron gestured, and the throne room's architecture responded. Walls closing in, ceiling lowering, floor becoming quicksand that grabbed at Spawn's feet. What investment do you imagine you can threaten? The same one Constantine threatens. Spawn teleported, avoiding the architectural assault, reappearing near the viewing portals that showed Earth's hell war. Your contracts, your carefully structured empire, your political alliances. He manifested weapons not designed to kill Neron, designed to destroy the viewing portals themselves. The Demon Lord's windows into his orchestrated apocalypse, his real-time monitoring of the war that was supposed to weaken his competitors, his command and control infrastructure. Neron's composed expression cracked. Don't! Too late. Spawn's necroplasm-powered artillery fired, and the viewing portal shattered. Not just the visual displays, the mystical connections they represented. The spells linking Neron to his topside operations. The awareness that let him coordinate conspiracy from Hell's safety. The Demon Lord screamed, not pain, but fury. And his power erupted with apocalyptic force. The throne room exploded outward, walls disintegrating, floor cracking, the entire palace shuddering. Neron's aristocratic facade dissolved completely, revealing the demon underneath. 12 feet of concentrated political evil. Power accumulated through countless betrayals now given physical form. You dare compromise my coordination, my real-time intelligence? The Demon Lord's voice shook Hell's foundations. I needed those portals to manage the war's progression. Without them, my forces operate independently. Variables become uncontrolled. That's the idea. Spawn's voice was cold satisfaction. You're not omnipotent, Neron. You're a micromanager who can't delegate. Cut your communications, and your grand conspiracy becomes just another hell war. Chaotic, unpredictable, impossible to control for profit. Neron lunged with speed that defied physics, claws extended, power manifesting as reality distortion that tried to unmake Spawn at molecular level. This was no longer political maneuvering or psychological warfare. This was a demon lord, genuinely threatened, fighting with full strength to eliminate the obstacle that had compromised his perfect plan. Spawn met the assault with every weapon his suit could manifest, and every tactical trick his military mind could devise. Chains wrapped around Demon Lord's limbs, not trying to bind but to direct momentum. Necroplasm flared in controlled bursts, not for damage but to obscure vision, create false targets, deny clean attack angles. Every second of survival was victory. Every moment Neron spent fighting him was a moment the Demon Lord couldn't coordinate his conspiracy. They crashed through the palace's levels, destroying centuries of accumulated trophies and contracts. Neron's power carved through Spawn's defenses, burning through necroplasm reserves, shredding the suit, breaking chains. But Spawn kept fighting, not to win, because winning was impossible, but to create chaos in the Demon Lord's carefully ordered existence. In the viewing portals on Earth, Demon Lords and human observers watched the impossible duel. Watched a Hellspawn fight a Demon Lord in the Demon Lord's own domain. Watched military determination clash against political power. Watched chaos disrupt order with nothing but violence and spite. And slowly, as the fight progressed, as Neron's rage grew and his attacks became less calculated, observers began to recognize something crucial. Spawn was winning. Not by killing Neron, that remained impossible, but by destroying everything Neron had built. By turning the Demon Lord's palace into a war zone. By eliminating the infrastructure that made Neron's conspiracy possible. By being precisely the chaotic, unpredictable, militarily competent element that political operators couldn't account for. Sometimes, victory didn't mean defeating the enemy. Sometimes victory meant denying them the win they'd planned. And Spawn, burning his life away in a suicide mission nobody expected him to survive, was absolutely denying Neron his perfect apocalypse. Amanda Waller watched the throne room duel through mystical viewing portals with the practiced eye of someone who deployed metahumans against impossible odds. Her tactical analysis was brutal. Spawn was losing, slowly, inevitably, magnificently, but losing. His necroplasm reserves were visibly depleting. The suit that had been crimson cape and flowing darkness now flickered, struggling to maintain cohesion. Chains that had moved with liquid grace now jerked with mechanical stiffness. Every hit from Neron carved away power that wouldn't regenerate. He's got maybe 2 minutes before complete energy depletion, Waller said to her assembled team, enhanced soldiers still on standby, weapons charged for supernatural intervention. Then Neron kills him, repairs his palace, and resumes coordination of the Hell War. We'll have accomplished nothing except watching a foreign Hellspawn die entertainingly, she jokes, but beside her, Constantine smoked and smiled. Look closer, love. Spawn's not trying to survive 2 minutes. He's trying to survive long enough. For what? For us. Zatanna materialized beside them in a flash of stage magic, rain-soaked and carrying crystallized evidence that glowed with encoded truth. Spawn's buying time for diplomatic resolution. He destroys Neron's command infrastructure while we present proof of conspiracy to the Demon Lords. Two-pronged assault, military and political. Trigon's avatar studied the evidence Zatanna offered, 4 eyes scanning magical data with ancient intelligence. The other Demon Lords crowded close. First of the Fallen's representatives, Lucifer's remnant court, dozens of Hell Dimension's leadership. They examined the dimensional breach analysis, saw Neron's contract magic woven into the passage structure, recognized the architecture of manipulation. Proof accepted. Trigon's voice carried across the siege perimeter. Neron has committed treason against all hells. His conspiracy with foreign Hell Lord Malabolgia constitutes violation of interdimensional law. Sentence: unmake. The other Demon Lords rumbled agreement, consensus forming with shocking speed because even demons understood betrayal's implications. If Neron could conspire with external hell against them, no Demon Lord was safe. The precedent threatened Hell's entire political structure. "There's your resolution," Constantine said to Waller. "Demon Lords unite against common betrayer. Hell war ends before it properly starts. Neron gets what's coming. Everyone goes home angry, but not apocalyptic. Except Spawn dies in the process." Waller's voice carried something almost like respect. He knew this was one-way mission when he shadow traveled into Hell, traded his existence for strategic objective completion. Very military of him, Constantine agreed. Also very stupid, though in his defense, stupid and heroic are often synonyms. Zatanna's hands moved, sketching rescue spells. "We can extract him, teleport him out before Neron lands killing blow, save his life, and violate demon law regarding formal combat challenges." Jason Blood's human voice carried warning. "If we interfere with Spawn's duel, the Demon Lords will consider it outside manipulation. Might restart the conflict we just diplomatically resolved. So we let him die to preserve political peace?" Zatanna's voice sharpened. "He just saved both our realities by destroying Neron's coordination. We owe him extraction." "We owe him nothing," Waller said flatly. "He's foreign Hellspawn who entered our dimension without authorization. His death solves multiple problems, eliminates interdimensional variable, prevents future complications, removes being too powerful for conventional containment. Strategically, his death is optimal outcome." Constantine turned on her with rare, genuine anger. "Listen to yourself, Amanda. The man just conducted a suicide mission to stop Apocalypse, and you're calculating how his death benefits your organization? Even for you, that's cold. That's realistic." But Waller's expression showed internal conflict, pragmatism warring with something suspiciously close to conscience. "I don't make decisions based on feelings. I make them based on outcomes. And the outcome here is clear. Spawn's death serves the greater good." In the viewing portal, Neron landed a devastating hit. Spawn crashed through what remained of the palace's eastern wall, chains shattering, suit barely holding form, necroplasm flickering like dying ember. The Demon Lord advanced with methodical fury, power gathering for execution strike. "Foreign Hellspawn." Neron's voice carried across dimensions. "You have destroyed my infrastructure, compromised my conspiracy, cost me centuries of careful planning. For these crimes, I pronounce sentence. Permanent unmake. your soul will be dissolved. Your essence scattered. You will cease to exist across all dimensions. Spawn struggled to rise, managed to get to one knee. His glowing eyes dimmed, but didn't extinguish. Worth it. Indeed? Neron raised his hand, reality distortion energy coalescing. You die for nothing. The war continues. My alliance with Malabulgia remains. Your sacrifice accomplishes only your own unmake. You're wrong. Spawn's voice was gravel and defiance. The Demon Lords know about your conspiracy now. Zatanna delivered proof. They're coming for you, Neron. And when they do, you'll learn what it means to be outmaneuvered by something as simple as a soldier who doesn't give a damn about politics. For the first time since combat began, Neron hesitated, looked toward the viewing portals he could no longer access. Reached for coordination spells Spawn had destroyed. Recognized, finally, that the Hellspawn had succeeded, not in killing him, but in isolating him, stripping away his infrastructure, leaving him vulnerable to the very Demon Lords he'd conspired against. No, Neron whispered. Then louder, no, this isn't. I calculated every variable, accounted for every response. You shouldn't have. Military minds are predictable, Spawn quoted back at him. But you forgot to calculate what happens when the predictable move is exactly the right move. Sometimes the direct approach works, Neron. Sometimes you just have to blow up the command center and let your allies finish the job. The palace shuddered. Dimensional barriers around it weakened, consequence of Neron's distraction, his power diverted to combat instead of maintaining defenses. And through those weakened barriers, the Demon Lords came. Trigun manifested first, four eyes blazing, power that made Neron's seem insignificant by comparison. Judgment is rendered. Neron of the political district, you are found guilty of interdimensional conspiracy, treason against Hell's hierarchy, and violation of infernal law. Sentence begins now. Wait, we can negotiate. But Neron's political instincts had no purchase against Demon Lords united in fury. The first of the Fallen's representatives arrived, followed by Lucifer's court, followed by representatives from dozens of Hell dimensions. They surrounded Neron like predators surrounding wounded prey, and the Demon Lord who'd orchestrated Apocalypse through careful manipulation finally understood terror. Your contracts are void, Trigon declared. Your territories forfeit. Your existence, negotiable. In that moment of distraction, Zatanna made her decision. Screw demon law. I'm not watching him die after what he just did. Her hands moved with desperate speed, sketching extraction spell that violated every protocol about interfering with formal Hell combat. Constantine grabbed her wrist. Love, if you do that, then they can judge me next. Zatanna's eyes flashed with power and determination. I didn't become a magician to watch heroes die for political convenience. The extraction spell flared to life, reaching across dimensional barriers, grabbing Spawn's dissolving form with magical force. It pulled him toward Earth, toward safety, toward extraction that would save his existence but violate demon law. Trigon's four eyes fixed on Zatanna. Magic user, you interfere with Hell's justice. I extract a warrior who earned extraction. Zatanna's voice didn't waver. He completed his mission, exposed the conspiracy, destroyed Neron's coordination. Hell got what it wanted, proof and punishment. I'm taking what I want, his survival. For a long moment, Hell's political district held its breath. Demon Lords could destroy Zatanna for interference, could restart the conflict over violation of combat law, could use her transgression as excuse for continued war. But then, unexpectedly, Trigon laughed. sound like mountains crumbling. Boldness. I remember when wizards possessed such boldness. Take your Hellspawn, magic user. He has earned his survival through combat excellence. We will consider his duel with Neron concluded with honors. The other demon lords rumbled agreement, grudging, but agreement nonetheless. Spawn had fought well enough, caused enough chaos, demonstrated enough martial competence that Hell's warrior culture respected the performance, even if political operators might object. Zatanna's extraction spell completed. Spawn materialized in Gotham Cemetery beside her and Constantine, smoking and broken and barely maintaining cohesion, but alive. Or as alive as the already dead could be. You... Spawn's voice was barely audible. Shouldn't have interfered. Probably not, Zatanna agreed. But I'm surprisingly okay with occasionally violating demon law for good causes. How's your necroplasm? Depleted. Need time to regenerate. Might take days. Spawn collapsed to his knees, chains retracting into his body, suit barely maintaining form. Did it work? The conspiracy? Exposed. Ended. Demon lords are currently discussing creative ways to unmake Neron. Constantine helped support Spawn's weight. You did it, mate. Stopped the Hell War through combination of violence and tactical sabotage. I'm genuinely impressed. Don't be. Spawn's glowing eyes dimmed further. Just did what had to be done. That's called heroism, Constantine said. Though I understand you Hellspawn preferred different terminology. Around them, Gotham began to heal. Metaphorically, because Gotham never truly healed. But the demons retreated, dimensional barriers restored, hellfire rain ceased. The conflict that had threatened to consume both realities ended not with apocalyptic battle, but with political consensus formed through one soldier's refusal to accept impossible odds. Amanda Waller approached, her enhanced soldiers maintaining defensive perimeter. Spawn, you're technically illegal interdimensional immigrant who participated in conflict resulting in 217 civilian deaths. I should detain you for federal processing. You could try. Spawn's voice carried exhausted threat. I could, but I won't. Waller's expression was unreadable. You completed mission objective, eliminated primary threat, and resolved crisis with minimal additional casualties. That demonstrates operational competence I can respect. Consider this courtesy warning. Return to your home dimension. If you remain in our reality, we will have problems. Wasn't planning to stay. Spawn looked toward the dimensional breach that still pulsed in the cemetery's center. Need to get back. Deal with Malabolgia. He'll be displeased. About mission failure. Mission failure? Zatanna's voice carried disbelief. You stopped an interdimensional conspiracy and prevented Hell War. That's success by any reasonable metric. I didn't kill Constantine. Spawn's tactical honesty was brutal. That was my assignment. Everything else was improvisation. Malabolgia doesn't reward improvisation. Constantine laughed bitterly. So you're going back to hell that will punish you for saving two realities? Mate, that's impressively stupid even by my standards. I'm already dead, already damned. Malabolgia can't take anything from me I haven't already lost. Spawn stood, chains providing structural support where necroplasm failed. But I won't let him use me as weapon for interdimensional imperialism. Not again. Then come with me. The voice came from the shadows beyond the cemetery's gates. Batman emerged, cape spreading like wings, white eyes fixed on Spawn with calculating assessment. I've been monitoring the situation, reviewing your tactical decisions, analyzing your combat performance. Batman. Waller's voice carried warning. He's foreign entity, potentially unstable, definitely dangerous. He's also competent, mission-focused, and demonstrated ability to operate against impossible odds. Batman stopped 3 meters from Spawn, close enough for conversation, far enough for reaction if violence ensued. Your hell will punish failure. Our dimension could use someone with your skill set. Stay. Work with Justice League Dark. Use your expertise against supernatural threats. Spawn stared at the Dark Knight, processing the offer. Join heroes. Fight alongside the very people he'd been sent to disrupt. Become protector instead of weapon. I'm not a hero, Spawn said finally. Neither am I. Batman's voice carried shared understanding. I'm a detective who uses fear as weapon. You're a soldier who uses hell's power. We both operate in gray areas heroes avoid. But we get results. For a long moment, Spawn considered. The dimensional breach pulsed, offering return to familiar damnation, predictable torment, the hell he understood. But beside it stood possibility. Staying in dimension where he'd proven competence, where magic users respected his sacrifice, where even government operators grudgingly acknowledged his effectiveness. I need time, Spawn said, to regenerate, to think, and to verify Malabolgia doesn't send something worse through that breach to finish his conspiracy. Reasonable. Batman produced a communication device, small, durable, encoded. This links to Justice League Dark's network. Constantine, Zatanna, Etrigan, others who handle supernatural threats. If you stay, use it. If you leave, destroy it. Your choice. Spawn took the device, looked at it, looked at the assembled heroes, government operators, demon lords still watching through viewing portals. Looked at Gotham's skyline, scarred by demonic assault but still standing, still breathing, still fighting. I'll think about it, Spawn said. 3 days later, the dimensional breach still pulsed in Gotham Cemetery, refusing to heal despite Zatanna's best efforts. It's anchored from the other side, she explained to Constantine as they stood in the rain, magical analysis revealing the breach's structure. Malabolgia's keeping it open, waiting for Spawn to return, or waiting to send something else through. Something worse, Constantine agreed, cigarette glowing in the darkness. Spawn compromised his conspiracy, cost him territorial expansion into our hell. Demon lords of Owl's caliber don't forgive that kind of operational failure. Malabolgia will retaliate. Batman monitored from nearby, cowl pulled low against the rain, his surveillance equipment tracking the breach's energy fluctuations. 3 days of observation had revealed patterns. Power building on the other side. Preparations for dimensional passage, something massive gathering strength for transit. We should collapse the breach before whatever's coming arrives, Batman said. Force it closed from our side. Prevent future incursions. And trap Spawn here permanently if he's still recovering. Zatanna shook her head. He deserves choice about where he exists, his hell or ours. Does he? Constantine's voice carried complexity. Love, I appreciate the heroic sentiment. But Spawn's a hell spawn, born from damnation, powered by corruption, designed to serve infernal purposes. Maybe permanent separation from his hell is mercy, not punishment. From the cemetery's shadows, a familiar voice. I make my own choices about mercy. Spawn materialized, his form more solid than 3 days prior. Necroplasm regenerated. Suit restored to crimson cape and flowing darkness, chains rattling with renewed strength. But something had changed in his bearing. Less pure military efficiency, more thoughtful assessment. as if 3 days in DC Universe had taught him that tactical decisions required more than just objective completion. "You're recovered," Batman observed, faster than projected. Gotham's darkness helped. Spawn approached the breach, studying it with eyes that saw across dimensional barriers. "Your city bleeds suffering. My necroplasm feeds on ambient corruption. I've never regenerated faster anywhere, except in hell itself." "Lovely testimonial for Gotham's tourism board," Constantine muttered. Spawn ignored him, focused on the breach. "Malebolgia's sending something through soon. I can feel his power building. He won't accept that I defied orders and survived. Won't tolerate that I exposed his conspiracy and cost him expansion. He'll send retribution. Then we're ready." Batman's hand moved to utility belt. "Justice League Dark is on standby. Dr. Fate monitoring from House of Mystery. If Malebolgia sends something through, we contain and eliminate it before it threatens civilians." "You can't contain what's coming." Spawn's voice was quiet certainty. "I know Malebolgia's retribution strategies. He doesn't send demons or lieutenants for this level of failure. He sends something that understands the target personally. Something that knows how they think, how they fight, how they strategize." Zatanna's eyes widened. "He's sending a Hellspawn, another one, specifically designed to hunt you. Worse." Spawn's chains coiled defensively. "He's sending Redeemer, the heaven-powered counterpart to Hellspawn. Angel warrior designed specifically to eliminate demon soldiers who step out of line. If Redeemer manifests in your dimension, we'll have heaven and hell fighting through our streets," Constantine finished. "Brilliant. Because the apocalypse we just avoided wasn't enough excitement." The breach pulsed. Energy spiked, and through the dimensional tear, something bright and terrible began to manifest. Not the sickly green of hell's corruption, but the blinding white of absolute judgment. "Get back!" Spawn's chains extended, forming barrier between the breach and the magic users. "Redeemer doesn't discriminate. Anyone near the target becomes collateral damage. Batman, evacuate the area, now." But Batman didn't retreat. Neither did Constantine or Zatanna. They formed defensive line beside Spawn, magic and gadgets charging for combat, united by the simple fact that this was their dimension, and they didn't allow uninvited angels or demons to conduct warfare on their streets. "Your dimension," Spawn said, recognizing their stance. "Your choice to defend it. I respect that." "Damn right it is." Constantine's hands moved, sketching protective wards. "And for the record, mate, you asked if you belong here 3 days ago. Consider this your answer. Anyone who fights beside us against interdimensional threats qualifies for membership in our dysfunctional supernatural family." Redeemer exploded through the breach in a nova of holy fire and righteous fury. 12 feet of armored angel warrior, wings like razors, eyes burning with heaven's judgment. His voice carried divine authority that made mortal souls ache with inadequacy. "Spawn, Al Simmons, you have been judged by heaven's throne and found wanting. Sentence: permanent unmake. Resistance will be met with absolute force." I've heard that threat before. Spawn's necroplasm flared, chains forming weapons of war. "From demons, from angels, from heaven and hell, I'm still here. Not for long." Redeemer's wings spread, holy fire manifesting as physical force. "Your defiance of Malebolgia's orders violated the covenant between heaven and hell. Your continued existence threatens divine balance. Prepare for..." Batman threw an explosive batarang. Not at Redeemer, at the dimensional breach itself. The device detonated with carefully calculated force, destabilizing the magical structure, causing the dimensional passage to convulse and begin collapsing. "What are you?" Redeemer started, then recognized the tactical brilliance. With the breach collapsing, he couldn't retreat to heaven, couldn't receive reinforcements, couldn't call for backup. Batman had just isolated him in a foreign dimension, cut off from his power source, forced to fight at reduced capacity against multiple opponents. "You picked the wrong city for divine retribution," Batman said. "Gotham doesn't accept outside judgment from anyone." Redeemer roared and lunged, holy fire carving through cemetery markers. But he was fighting not just Spawn now. He was fighting Spawn backed by Constantine's magic, Zatanna's spells, and Batman's tactical brilliance. The Angel Warrior was powerful, designed to eliminate Hellspawn through overwhelming divine force. But he'd never fought a Hellspawn who had allies. Spawn's chains wrapped around Redeemer's wings, pulling them down, denying flight advantage. Zatanna's backward speech spells disrupted holy fire manifestation, forcing Redeemer to fight physically rather than magically. Constantine's wards prevented dimensional escape, trapping the Angel in purely material confrontation. And Batman directed their tactics, calling positions and timing like a general commanding supernatural warfare. "He's adapting," Zatanna shouted as Redeemer broke through her spells. "Learning our attack patterns. Then we change patterns." Spawn teleported directly into Redeemer's guard, chains manifesting into blades that carved through divine armor. Military doctrine: when enemy adapts, introduce chaos they can't predict. The fight was brutal. Angel against demon. Heaven against hell, absolute judgment against earned redemption. They crashed through the cemetery, destroying centuries of graves, their power manifesting as reality distortion that made physics weep. But slowly, inevitably, Redeemer began to lose. Not because Spawn was stronger, he wasn't. Not because the magic users overpowered him, they couldn't. But because Redeemer fought alone, following Heaven's doctrine of individual punishment, while Spawn fought with allies who covered weaknesses and exploited openings. Teamwork. The tactical advantage Angels never calculated, because Heaven's warriors operated on hierarchy and command, not partnership and trust. "Impossible!" Redeemer gasped as Constantine's binding spell finally held, as Zatanna's magic dampened his holy fire, as Spawn's chains wrapped around his arms and legs. "I am Heaven's judgment. You cannot. We just did." Spawn's voice was cold satisfaction. "Go back to Heaven. Tell them Al Simmons isn't accepting their judgment anymore. Tell them Hellspawn have allies now. Tell them if they send another Redeemer, we'll send them back in pieces." "The breach has collapsed," Batman reported, examining the dimensional tear's remains. "Temporary severance. Malabolgia and Heaven can eventually reopen passage, but it will take weeks, possibly months. Time for diplomatic resolution." Redeemer struggled against binding but couldn't break free. "You defend Hellspawn?" "I defend Gotham." Batman's voice was absolute. "Anyone who enters my city bringing conflict becomes my problem, whether demon, angel, or god. Spawn fought to stop Hell War. That makes him ally until proven otherwise. Plus," Constantine added, "he's growing on us, like fungus, but less annoying." Zatanna began sketching return portal, not to Heaven, but to neutral ground, where Redeemer could be released without immediate threat. "You're going back to your masters. You're going to tell them that Spawn has sanctuary in our dimension, that we don't recognize Heaven or Hell's jurisdiction over warriors who choose to protect instead of destroy. And you're going to recommend they leave him alone. And if they don't? Redeemer's voice carried defiance even in defeat. Then they deal with Justice League Dark, Batman's contingencies, and whatever demon lords we can recruit against Heaven's interference. Constantine's smile was dark promise. Heaven doesn't want that conflict. Trust me. Your bureaucrats are even worse than Hell's. The return portal opened. Spawn released his chains, allowing Redeemer to be pushed through dimensional passage back to neutral ground. The Angel Warrior vanished with look of pure confusion, unable to comprehend defeat, unable to process the idea that Hell's Spawn could have allies who fought Heaven's judgment. The portal closed. Silence fell across the cemetery, broken only by rain and distant sirens. "So," Constantine said, lighting fresh cigarette. That was exciting. "Spawn, you planning to make battling interdimensional retribution a regular hobby? Because I'd prefer advance warning before Heaven sends the next angel assassin." Spawn stood in the rain, chains retracting into his body, suit settling into rest configuration. He looked at Batman, who defended him against Heaven. At Zatanna, who'd extracted him from Hell's judgment. Constantine, who'd used his expertise to bind an angel warrior. At the dimension that had given him choice instead of orders. "The communicator Batman gave me," Spawn said. "It's still active?" "Always." Batman's voice carried something almost like approval. "Then I'm staying, temporarily, until Malabolgia and Heaven stop sending retribution. After that..." Spawn paused, considering. "We'll see. I'm not a hero, not redeemed. Still damned, still corrupted, still hellborn. But if this dimension needs someone who operates in gray areas, where heroes can't, we'll make room." Zatanna smiled. "Welcome to Justice League Dark, Spawn. Try not to kill anyone unless absolutely necessary." "Constantine already hits that quota for our entire team." "I make no promises." But Spawn's tone suggested something almost like acceptance. Not happiness. The damned didn't do happiness. But maybe purpose. Maybe belonging. Maybe the recognition that Hell Spawn could be more than weapons if someone gave them the choice. Batman's communicator chirped. "Report from Watchtower. Multiple supernatural incidents across Gotham. Demons who didn't retreat fully after Hell War. Civilians threatened. Require immediate response." "That's our cue." Constantine flicked his cigarette into the rain. "First mission for our new team member. Think you can handle Gotham demons, Spawn?" "I've handled worse." Spawn's chains extended, ready for deployment. "Where do you need me?" "East End. Multiple contacts. Potentially hostile." Batman was already moving toward the Batmobile. "Follow my lead. Don't kill unless absolutely necessary. And Spawn?" "Yes?" "Welcome to Gotham. Try not to add to our body count." Spawn's shadow traveled, following Batman's trajectory across rooftops. Behind him, Zatanna and Constantine teleported to other incident locations. The city spread below them, corrupt, violent, suffering, exactly the environment where Hellspawn thrived. But tonight, for the first time since Resurrection, Spawn fought not because Hell commanded, but because he chose to. Not as weapon, but as warrior. Not serving damnation, but defying it. Al Simmons had died a soldier, had been resurrected as Hell Spawn, had been sent on assassination mission that became Redemption Arc. And now, in a universe of gods and demons, in a city where darkness itself took form, he'd found something he thought impossible. A place where the damned could still make a difference. 2 weeks after Redeemer's failed assault, Spawn had become a ghost story in Gotham's supernatural underworld. Not the comforting kind that criminals could rationalize, but the terrifying kind that suggested hell itself had taken interest in the city's demonic population. The East End incident had been the first. 3 demons, remnants of the Hell War, attempting to establish territory by claiming souls through traditional means. Possession, corruption, offering impossible bargains. They'd expected standard Gotham response. Batman's gadgets, maybe a magic user if they were unlucky. They got Spawn. The necroplasm-powered chains had wrapped around the lead demon before he'd finished his sales pitch. The other 2 had tried to flee. Spawn had teleported after them, extracting them from their host bodies with surgical precision. Then dragging their essence into temporary containment circles Constantine had taught him to manifest. No kills, just brutal efficiency and terror that spread through Hell's remaining presence in Gotham like wildfire. "You're developing a reputation," Batman said during their nightly briefing in a safe house near Crime Alley. The Dark Knight stood before holographic displays showing supernatural incident reports, each marked with decreasing frequency over the past 2 weeks. Demon activity in Gotham is down 63%. They're either leaving or going dormant. Good. Spawn studied the maps with a soldier's eye for patterns. Means we're winning, or they're regrouping for coordinated assault. Batman's paranoia was legendary for good reason. "I've learned not to assume victory until threats are completely eliminated. Can't eliminate demons completely." Constantine entered through the safe house's mystical ward-protected entrance, carrying whiskey and exhaustion in equal measure. Their concepts given form. Kill one, another manifests. Best we can do is make Gotham too annoying for them to bother with. Which is where our Hellspawn excels. Zatanna materialized beside Constantine, her stage jacket singed from whatever magical confrontation she'd just survived. Demons recognize Spawn as foreign hell authority. They don't know if he's authorized to operate here or if he's gone rogue, which makes them cautious. Caution makes them sloppy. Sloppy makes them catchable. Spawn listened to the tactical assessment, recognizing the pattern. They were using his reputation as psychological weapon. The same way Batman used fear, the same way Constantine used his damned status, the same way Zatanna used her family's magical legacy. In Justice League Dark, everyone was a weapon aimed at supernatural threats. He fit here, disturbingly well. "Bigger problem," Constantine said, pulling up holographic data that made Spawn's necroplasm recoil. "Malebolgia's not giving up. Our intelligence suggests he's negotiating with other demon lords, not just Neron's surviving allies, but independent operators. He's trying to build coalition for second invasion attempt. He's persistent." Spawn's voice carried grudging respect and absolute hatred. Military strategist. First assault fails, analyze why, adapt tactics, strike again with improved approach. Can he successfully invade? Batman's question was tactical assessment, not fear. Depends on how many demon lords he recruits. Spawn studied the intelligence data, recognizing names and power signatures. If he gets Trigon's cooperation, maybe. Trigon commands enough raw power to force dimensional passage even against DC Hell's resistance. But Trigon doesn't take orders from lesser demon lords. Unless Malebolgia offers something Trigon wants. Zatanna's eyes widened. Oh no. Raven. Trigon's always seeking ways to corrupt his daughter, bring her fully into his service. If Malebolgia offers intelligence about Raven's current location or vulnerabilities, then Trigon might provide the power for second invasion. Constantine's expression darkened. Brilliant and terrifying. We need to warn the Titans. Get Raven into protective custody before Malebolgia can use her as bargaining chip. Batman was already moving, fingers flying across holographic keyboard. Alerting Dick Grayson. Nightwing will coordinate Titan security protocols. But if Malebolgia has intelligence about Raven, he has intelligence about our entire defensive infrastructure. Someone's been leaking information from our side. The safe house went silent. The implication was clear. There was a traitor in the supernatural community. Someone feeding information to Malebolgia. Someone who wanted the second invasion to succeed. Not necessarily traitor, Spawn said, his tactical mind processing alternatives. Could be surveillance we haven't detected. Malebolgia's hell has resources we don't understand. He might be using scrying, remote viewing, or contracted information brokers we're not aware of. Or, Constantine said quietly, one of the demon lords we allied with during the Neron crisis is playing both sides. Wouldn't be first time a demon lord pretended cooperation while secretly negotiating separate deals. Batman pulled up profiles of demon lords who'd participated in Neron's judgment. Trigon, the first of the Fallen's representatives, Lucifer's court remnants, dozens of Hell Dimension's leadership, each with their own agendas, each theoretically allied with Earth's defenders, but practically serving their own interests. We can't trust any of them, Batman concluded. Standard protocol. Assume all demon lords are compromised, operate on need-to-know basis only, and prepare for second invasion as if it's inevitable. It probably is. Spawn's chains coiled around his body defensively. Malebolgia doesn't accept failure. He'll keep sending forces until either he succeeds or something bigger makes him stop. That's how hell works. Persistence until victory or unmake. Then we make it too expensive for him to continue. Batman's wide eyes gleamed with strategic calculation. Every invasion costs resources. Power, demons, political capital. We make each assault so costly that other demon lords question the partnership. Eventually, Malebolgia becomes liability instead of asset. His allies abandon him. He loses standing in Hell's hierarchy. Economic warfare applied to demonic imperialism. Constantine smiled darkly. I like it. Very Batman. Will it work? Zatanna looked at Spawn. You know Malebolgia better than any of us. Will he abandon invasion if it becomes too expensive? Spawn considered, drawing on years of serving the Demon Lord, understanding his strategic thinking. Maybe. Malebolgia's ambitious, but not suicidal. If invasion costs him more than potential territorial gain, he'll withdraw. But he'll remember. He'll hold grudge. And eventually, he'll find different approach. Then we buy time. Batman closed the holographic displays. Make second invasion so costly, he withdraws. Use that time to strengthen dimensional barriers, improve early warning systems, recruit additional supernatural defenders. Turn invasion from viable strategy to impossible objective. Assuming we survive the second invasion. Constantine lit cigarette with shaking hands. Because if Malebolgia comes with Trigon backing him, we're fighting two of the most powerful entities across multiple hell dimensions. That's not a battle. That's an extinction event. The safe house trembled. Not from natural causes, from mystical alarm triggering across Justice League Dark's network. Every magic user in the tri-state area suddenly felt it. Dimensional barrier stress, reality weakening, something massive preparing to force passage between worlds. It's happening now, Zatanna said, her voice tight. Malebolgia is opening the breach. Multiple locations simultaneously: Gotham, Metropolis, Central City, Coast City. He's not doing surgical strike. He's doing full-scale invasion. Batman's fingers flew across keyboard, pulling up citywide surveillance. Confirming. Energy spikes at 17 locations. Dimensional tears forming. Emergency protocols activating across Justice League networks. He adapted faster than projected. Spawn's tactical assessment was grim. 2 weeks wasn't enough time. He used our defensive preparations against us, waited until we were watching for single major breach, then opened multiple smaller breaches simultaneously. Classic military strategy. Divide enemy attention, overwhelm through dispersed assault. Then we respond accordingly. Batman was already heading for the Batmobile. Constantine, coordinate with magic users across all breach sites. Zatanna, assist Superman in Metropolis. His powers are less effective against magical threats. Spawn. I go after Malebolgia directly. Spawn's chains extended, weapons manifesting. He'll be coming through one of these breaches personally. Demon Lords don't delegate invasions of this scale. He wants to make statement, reclaim authority, punish me for defying orders. I'm the primary target. Then you'll have backup. Batman's voice carried absolute certainty. Justice League is mobilizing. Wonder Woman, Dr. Fate, Shazam, everyone with experience fighting demonic threats. You won't face him alone. I've faced him alone before. And barely survived. Zatanna grabbed Spawn's arm, her grip surprisingly strong. You're part of a team now. That means accepting help even when your soldier instincts say to fight solo. Understood. Spawn looked at her, at Constantine, at Batman. Saw a determination in their eyes, not just to defend their dimension, but to defend him, their newest and most damaged team member. The Hellspawn who'd arrived on assassination mission and stayed for redemption. Understood, Spawn said finally. Where's Malebolgia manifesting? Batman pulled up holographic display showing the largest energy signature. A massive dimensional breach forming in the heart of Gotham, directly above Arkham Asylum. There. Maximum psychological impact. He's announcing his arrival by threatening the city's most infamous location. Typical Malebolgia. Spawn shadow traveled toward the window. Dramatic, tactical, designed to inspire maximum terror. He'll use the asylum's inmates as leverage, threaten to release them or possess them unless we surrender. Then we don't give him the chance. Batman deployed grapnel gun. Arkham's being evacuated now. Inmates transferred to secure locations. When Malebolgia arrives, he'll find empty building and very angry defenders. They moved out. Batman via Batmobile. Constantine and Zatanna via teleportation circle. Spawn through shadow travel. Across Gotham, across multiple cities, heroes mobilized against demonic invasion. The Justice League Dark, Teen Titans, even government forces under Amanda Waller's coordination. This wasn't surgical strike or political manipulation. This was open warfare. Hell versus Earth. Malebolgia's ambition versus dimensional sovereignty. And in the center of coming storm, Spawn prepared to face the Demon Lord who damned him, controlled him, sent him on assassination mission that had become something far more complex. Malebolgia had made him a weapon. DC Universe had given him choice. Now he'd demonstrate what happened when weapons chose their own targets. The sky above Gotham tore open like infected flesh, and through the wound in reality poured Malebolgia's forces. Not the careful infiltration of Spawn's original arrival, this was military invasion with all subtlety abandoned. Demons by the hundreds, Hellspawn warriors, corrupted souls given physical form, and creatures that defied human comprehension flooded through 17-dimensional breaches simultaneously. Arkham Asylum burned with green hellfire that consumed without heat transforming the infamous building into beacon of damnation. And at the breach's center, growing larger with each passing second, Malebolgia himself began to manifest. The demon lord was immense, 50 feet of concentrated evil and military precision. His form combining aspects of every nightmare humanity had suffered since consciousness began. Horns that pierced clouds, eyes that burned with cold intelligence, claws that could carve through reality itself. This was the entity that had damned Al Simmons, that commanded legions across Hell's hierarchy, that had orchestrated conspiracy spanning multiple dimensions. Gotham. Malebolgia's voice shook the city's foundations. I have come for what belongs to me. Surrender the Hell Spawn called Spawn, and your dimension will be spared further suffering. Resist, and I claim this reality as territory of the Eighth Circle. From the asylum's ruins, Batman's voice carried through amplified speakers. Gotham doesn't negotiate with invaders. Leave now or face consequences. Malebolgia laughed, sound like mountains cracking. Mortal in costume threatens a demon lord? Your courage is admirable. Your survival probability is 0. You'd be surprised how often I hear that. Batman emerged from smoke, cape spread against hellfire glow, an impossibly small figure facing titanic evil. And you'd be surprised how often it's wrong. Beside him materialized the Trinity. Superman, floating with cape billowing, his expression showing the controlled fury that suggested Malebolgia had made a grave tactical error threatening Earth. Wonder Woman, warrior goddess with god-killer sword drawn, divine power radiating. And Batman, mortal detective who'd faced gods and demons and survived through nothing but preparation and will. You picked the wrong dimension to invade, Superman said, his voice carrying across dimensional barriers. Leave peacefully, or we remove you by force. Kryptonian. Malebolgia studied Superman with predatory interest. Your species tried to achieve perfection through science, failed spectacularly, destroyed themselves. You think your survivor's guilt grants you authority here? I think my ability to move planets grants me authority. Superman's eyes glowed red with heat vision charge. Last warning. Diana of Themyscira. Malebolgia turned his attention to Wonder Woman. Daughter of Zeus, warrior of gods, you understand hierarchy, understand power structures. You know I outmatch your Trinity. You know this battle ends with your defeat. I know something else. Wonder Woman's lasso glowed with truth's power. I know you're terrified, not of us, of him. She pointed toward Arkham's highest tower, where Spawn stood silhouetted against hellfire, chains coiling, suit manifesting weapons of war. Malebolgia's eyes narrowed. Spawn, Al Simmons. You have defied orders, compromised conspiracy, aligned with mortals against your own kind. For these treasons, I pronounce sentence. Complete unmake. Your essence will be recycled. Your consciousness dissolved. You will cease across all dimensions and timelines. I've heard that threat before, Spawn said, his voice carrying across the battlefield with supernatural projection. From you, from Neron, from Redeemer. I'm still here, they're not. Because I allowed your survival. Malebolgia's power manifested as physical pressure, reality bending around his rage. Because you served purpose as weapon. But your usefulness has ended. Now you are merely obstacle to be eliminated. Then eliminate me. Spawn shadow traveled, appearing directly before Malebolgia's massive form, impossibly small against titanic scale. You sent me on assassination mission. I completed different mission, stopped your conspiracy, exposed your alliance with Neron, prevented hell war that would have weakened both dimensions. I chose to protect instead of destroy, and that terrifies you. Terrifies? Malebolgia's laughter shook dimensional barriers. You delude yourself, weapon. You are nothing but... He's everything you can't control. The new voice came from above, where Dr. Fate hovered, golden power blazing. Spawn represents chaos you cannot predict, variables you cannot account for, free will you cannot suppress. You fear him because he demonstrates that even Hellspawn can choose redemption. Beside Fate materialized the rest of Justice League Dark. Etrigan roaring poetry and hellfire, Zatanna with hands glowing with backward speech power, Constantine smoking and sketching containment circles, Deadman phasing through reality, Swamp Thing rising from Gotham's corrupted earth. You wanted Spawn? Constantine's voice carried dark amusement. You'll have to go through all of us. And mate, we specialize in making demon lords regret their life choices. Malebolgia studied the assembled heroes. The Trinity, Justice League Dark, Batman's contingencies, Amanda Waller's enhanced soldiers establishing perimeter with New God technology. The Demon Lord recognized the trap too late. He'd been so focused on punishing Spawn, so determined to make statement about defying Hell's authority, that he'd walked into coordinated defense prepared specifically for his arrival. Clever. Malebolgia's tone shifted, recognizing strategic miscalculation. You used Spawn as bait. Knew I would come for him personally, prepared accordingly. Military doctrine, Batman said. When enemy is predictable, prediction becomes weapon. But I did not come alone. Malebolgia gestured, and through the 17 breaches poured reinforcements. Not just minor demons, but Hellspawn warriors, each empowered like Spawn himself, each a weapon designed for apocalyptic warfare. And behind them, something massive was approaching through dimensional barriers. Trigun's avatar manifested in Metropolis, 4 eyes blazing demonic power that made Malebolgia seem almost insignificant by comparison. Malebolgia offered me intelligence about my daughter's vulnerabilities. In exchange, I provide power for this invasion. It is equitable arrangement. Trigon. Superman flew toward the greater threat, recognizing priority target. You were part of Demon Council that judged Neron. You agreed to peace. I agreed to eliminate Neron. Trigon's 4 eyes fixed on Superman with ancient contempt. I made no promises about peace. Demon lords do not make peace, Kryptonian. We make temporary truces while planning next conquest. In Gotham, Spawn faced Malebolgia, while around them the battle exploded into full-scale dimensional warfare. Superman engaged Trigon in Metropolis, their conflict generating shockwaves that cracked buildings. Wonder Woman carved through Hellspawn warriors with God-Killer sword, divine power against demonic corruption. Dr. Fate manifested order against chaos, golden energy holding back demonic tide. Batman coordinated defensive positions, his tactical genius turning Gotham into fortress against Hell's invasion. And in the center of Arkham's ruins, Spawn and Malebolgia finally confronted each other without intermediaries, without manipulation, without anything but pure, violent resolution. You could have been greatest weapon, Malebolgia said, his massive form looming. Could have led my legends, conquered dimensions, earned power beyond imagination. Instead, you chose mortality's delusions, chose heroism, chose weakness. I chose freedom. Spawn's necroplasm blazed, every reserve channeling into final confrontation. And I'll show you what free Hellspawn can accomplish. They clashed with force that shattered Arkham's remaining structure. Malebolgia's claws carved through air where Spawn had been microseconds before. Spawn's chains wrapped around the Demon Lord's arms, pulling tight, manifesting blades that carved through centuries of accumulated power. They fought with military precision against supernatural might, tactical brilliance against overwhelming force. And slowly, impossibly, Spawn began to win. Not through superior power. Malebolgia was exponentially stronger. Not through demonic corruption. Malebolgia was hell itself given form. But through something Malebolgia had never possessed. Purpose beyond domination. Every strike Spawn landed carried the weight of every soul Malebolgia had damned. Every warrior he'd manipulated. Every conspiracy he'd orchestrated. Spawn fought not just for survival. He fought for every hell spawn who'd never been given choice. For every damned soul forced to serve without question. For the possibility that even weapons could become warriors. That even the damned could choose redemption. Impossible! Malebolgia gasped as Spawn's chains pierced his core, necroplasm flooding his essence. You cannot! I am! You're obsolete! Spawn's voice was cold certainty. Hell doesn't need demon lords who treat warriors as disposable weapons. Doesn't need imperialism wearing damnation's mask. You're not evolution, Malebolgia. You're extinction waiting to happen. The demon lord screamed, and his form began to destabilize. Not dying, demon lords of his caliber couldn't truly die. But diminishing, losing cohesion, his powers scattering across dimensional barriers. The Hellspawn warriors he'd brought stopped fighting, their connection to their commander severed. The breaches he'd opened began to collapse, dimensional passages losing stability. In Metropolis, Trigon felt Malebolgia's defeat and immediately withdrew. The Demon Lord had bargained for intelligence about Raven, not for partnership in losing battle. He vanished through dimensional tear before Superman could land killing blow, retreating to his domain to await better opportunities. Across 17 cities, demons retreated. Hell's invasion collapsed not through complete military defeat, but through decapitation of leadership. Malebolgia had gambled everything on personal confrontation, and Spawn, with help from dimension that had given him purpose, had shattered that gamble completely. The Demon Lord's essence scattered, fleeing back to the Eighth Circle to reconstitute over centuries. His last words echoed across dimensional barriers. This is not over, Spawn. I will return. I will. You'll find me ready. Spawn stood in Arkham's ruins, smoking and exhausted, necroplasm nearly depleted. And next time, I won't be fighting alone. The breach is sealed, Hell's forces retreated, and Gotham, having survived yet another apocalypse, began the process of recovery that its citizens had perfected through grim experience. Batman approached Spawn, cape dragging through ash. You won. We won. Spawn looked at the assembled heroes, battered, exhausted, but victorious. Your dimension taught me something Malebolgia never understood. Power isn't about domination. It's about choosing what you fight for and who you fight beside. That's called being a hero, Superman said, landing beside them with gentle care for the damaged ground. Whether you accept the title or not. Spawn looked at the Man of Steel, at Wonder Woman still cleaning Demon Ichor from her sword, at Dr. Fate descending from mystical combat, at Constantine and Zatanna emerging from protective circles, at the entire assembled might of Earth's supernatural defenders. I'm not a hero, Spawn said, but his voice lacked conviction. Maybe not yet, Wonder Woman said, her warrior's assessment carrying respect. But you're something close, a warrior who chooses to protect. That's enough. The sky above Gotham tore open like infected flesh, and through the wound in reality poured Malebolgia's forces. Not the careful infiltration of Spawn's original arrival. This was military invasion with all subtlety abandoned. Demons by the hundreds, hell-spawn warriors, corrupted souls given physical form, and creatures that defied human comprehension flooded through 17-dimensional breaches simultaneously. Arkham Asylum burned with green hellfire that consumed without heat, transforming the infamous building into a beacon of damnation. And at the breach's center, growing larger with each passing second, Malebolgia himself began to manifest. The Demon Lord was immense. 50 feet of concentrated evil and military precision, his form combining aspects of every nightmare humanity had suffered since consciousness began. Horns that pierced clouds, eyes that burned with cold intelligence, claws that could carve through reality itself. This was the entity that had damned Al Simmons, that commanded legions across Hell's hierarchy, that had orchestrated conspiracy spanning multiple dimensions. Gotham! Malebolgia's voice shook the city's foundations. I have come for what belongs to me. Surrender the Hellspawn called Spawn, and your dimension will be spared further suffering. Resist, and I claim this reality as territory of the Eighth Circle. From the asylum's ruins, Batman's voice carried through amplified speakers. Gotham doesn't negotiate with invaders. Leave now or face consequences. Malebolgia laughed. Sound like mountains cracking. Mortal in costume threatens a demon lord? Your courage is admirable. Your survival probability is 0. You'd be surprised how often I hear that. Batman emerged from smoke, cape spread against hellfire glow, an impossibly small figure facing titanic evil. And you'd be surprised how often it's wrong. Beside him materialized the Trinity, Superman, floating with cape billowing. His expression showing the controlled fury that suggested Malebolgia had made a grave tactical error threatening Earth. Wonder Woman, warrior goddess with god-killer sword drawn, divine power radiating. And Batman, mortal detective who'd faced gods and demons and survived through nothing but preparation and will. You picked the wrong dimension to invade, Superman said, his voice carrying across dimensional barriers. Leave peacefully, or we remove you by force. Kryptonian. Malebolgia studied Superman with predatory interest. Your species tried to achieve perfection through science, failed spectacularly, destroyed themselves. You think your survivor's guilt grants you authority here? I think my ability to move planets grants me authority. Superman's eyes glowed red with heat vision charge. Last warning. Diana of Themyscira. Malebolgia turned his attention to Wonder Woman. Daughter of Zeus, warrior of gods. You understand hierarchy, understand power structures. You know I outmatch your Trinity. You know this battle ends with your defeat. I know something else. Wonder Woman's lasso glowed with truth's power. I know you're terrified, not of us, of him. She pointed toward Arkham's highest tower, where Spawn stood silhouetted against hellfire, chains coiling, suit, manifesting weapons of war. Malebolgia's eyes narrowed. Spawn, Al Simmons, you have defied orders, compromised conspiracy, aligned with mortals against your own kind. For these treasons, I pronounce sentence. Complete unmake. Your essence will be recycled. Your consciousness dissolved. You will cease across all dimensions and timelines. I've heard that threat before, Spawn said, his voice carrying across the battlefield with supernatural projection. From you, from Neron, from Redeemer, I'm still here. They're not. Because I allowed your survival. Malabolgia's power manifested as physical pressure, reality bending around his rage. Because you served purpose as weapon, but your usefulness has ended. Now you are merely obstacle to be eliminated. Then eliminate me. Spawn's shadow traveled, appearing directly before Malabolgia's massive form, impossibly small against titanic scale. You sent me on assassination mission. I completed different mission, stopped your conspiracy, exposed your alliance with Neron, prevented hell war that would have weakened both dimensions. I chose to protect instead of destroy. And that terrifies you. Terrifies? Malabolgia's laughter shook dimensional barriers. You delude yourself, weapon. You are nothing but... He's everything you can't control. The new voice came from above, where Dr. Fate hovered, golden power blazing. Spawn represents chaos you cannot predict, variables you cannot account for, free will you cannot suppress. You fear him because he demonstrates that even Hell's Spawn can choose redemption. Beside Fate materialized the rest of Justice League Dark, Etrigan roaring poetry and hellfire, Zatanna with hands glowing with backward speech power, Constantine smoking and sketching containment circles, Deadman phasing through reality, Swamp Thing rising from Gotham's corrupted earth. You wanted Spawn. Constantine's voice carried dark amusement. You'll have to go through all of us. And mate, we specialize in making demon lords regret their life choices. Malabolgia studied the assembled heroes. The Trinity, Justice League Dark, Batman's contingencies, Amanda Waller's enhanced soldiers establishing perimeter with new god technology. The Demon Lord recognized the trap too late. He'd been so focused on punishing Spawn, so determined to make statement about defying Hell's authority, that he'd walked into coordinated defense prepared specifically for his arrival. Clever. Malabolgia's tone shifted, recognizing strategic miscalculation. You used Spawn as bait. Knew I would come for him personally, prepared accordingly. Military doctrine, Batman said. When enemy is predictable, prediction becomes weapon. But I did not come alone. Malabolgia gestured, and through the 17 breaches poured reinforcements. Not just minor demons, but Hellspawn warriors, each empowered like Spawn himself, each a weapon designed for apocalyptic warfare. And behind them, something massive was approaching through dimensional barriers. Trigon's avatar manifested in Metropolis, 4 eyes blazing demonic power that made Malabolgia seem almost insignificant by comparison. Malabolgia offered me intelligence about my daughter's vulnerabilities. In exchange, I provide power for this invasion. It is equitable arrangement. Trigon. Superman flew toward the greater threat, recognizing priority target. You were part of Demon Council that judged Neron. You agreed to peace. I agreed to eliminate Neron. Trigon's 4 eyes fixed on Superman with ancient contempt. I made no promises about peace. Demon lords do not make peace, Kryptonian. We make temporary truces while planning next conquest. In Gotham, Spawn faced Malabolgia, while around them the battle exploded into full-scale dimensional warfare. Superman engaged Trigon in Metropolis, their conflict generating shockwaves that cracked buildings. Wonder Woman carved through Hellspawn warriors with God-Killer's sword, divine power against demonic corruption. Dr. Fate manifested order against chaos, golden energy holding back demonic tide. Batman coordinated defensive positions, his tactical genius turning Gotham into fortress against Hell's invasion. And in the center of Arkham's ruins, Spawn and Malabolgia finally confronted each other without intermediaries, without manipulation, without anything but pure, violent resolution. "You could have been greatest weapon," Malabolgia said, his massive form looming. "Could have led my legends, conquered dimensions, earned power beyond imagination. Instead, you chose mortality's delusions, chose heroism, chose weakness. I chose freedom." Spawn's necroplasm blazed, every reserve channeling into final confrontation. "And I'll show you what free Hellspawn can accomplish." They clashed with force that shattered Arkham's remaining structure. Malabolgia's claws carved through air where Spawn had been microseconds before. Spawn's chains wrapped around the Demon Lord's arms, pulling tight, manifesting blades that carved through centuries of accumulated power. They fought with military precision against supernatural might, tactical brilliance against overwhelming force. And slowly, impossibly, Spawn began to win. Not through superior power, Malabolgia was exponentially stronger. Not through demonic corruption, Malabolgia was hell itself given form. But through something Malabolgia had never possessed: purpose beyond domination. Every strike Spawn landed carried the weight of every soul Malabolgia had damned, every warrior he'd manipulated, every conspiracy he'd orchestrated. Spawn fought not just for survival. He fought for every Hellspawn who'd never been given choice. For every damned soul forced to serve without question. For the possibility that even weapons could become warriors, that even the damned could choose redemption. Impossible. Malabolgia gasped as Spawn's chains pierced his core, necroplasm flooding his essence. "You cannot. I am. You're obsolete." Spawn's voice was cold certainty. Hell doesn't need demon lords who treat warriors as disposable weapons. Doesn't need imperialism wearing damnation's mask. You're not evolution, Malabolgia. You're extinction waiting to happen. The demon lord screamed, and his form began to destabilize. Not dying, demon lords of his caliber couldn't truly die. But diminishing, losing cohesion, his power scattering across dimensional barriers. The Hellspawn warriors he'd brought stopped fighting, their connection to their commander severed. The breaches he'd opened began to collapse, dimensional passages losing stability. In Metropolis, Trigon felt Malabolgia's defeat and immediately withdrew. The Demon Lord had bargained for intelligence about Raven, not for partnership in losing battle. He vanished through dimensional tear before Superman could land killing blow, retreating to his domain to await better opportunities. Across 17 cities, demons retreated. Hell's invasion collapsed not through complete military defeat, but through decapitation of leadership. Malabolgia had gambled everything on personal confrontation, and Spawn, with help from dimension that had given him purpose, had shattered that gamble completely. The Demon Lord's essence scattered, fleeing back to the Eighth Circle to reconstitute over centuries. His last words echoed across dimensional barriers. "This is not over, Spawn. I will return. You'll find me ready." Spawn stood in Arkham's ruins, smoking and exhausted, necroplasm nearly depleted. "And next time, I won't be fighting alone." The breach is sealed. Hell's forces retreated, and Gotham, having survived yet another apocalypse, began the process of recovery that its citizens had perfected through grim experience. Batman approached Spawn, cape dragging through ash. "You won. We won." Spawn looked at the assembled heroes, battered, exhausted, but victorious. "Your dimension taught me something Malabolgia never understood. Power isn't about domination. It's about choosing what you fight for and who you fight beside. That's called being a hero," Superman said, landing beside them with gentle care for the damaged ground. whether you accept the title or not. Spawn looked at the Man of Steel, at Wonder Woman still cleaning demon ichor from her sword, at Dr. Fate descending from mystical combat, at Constantine and Zatanna emerging from protective circles, at the entire assembled might of Earth's supernatural defenders. "I'm not a hero," Spawn said. But his voice lacked conviction. "Maybe not yet," Wonder Woman said, her warrior's assessment carrying respect. "But you're something close. A warrior who chooses to protect. That's enough." 1 month after Malebolgia's invasion, Spawn stood on the watchtower, staring at Earth through reinforced transparent aluminum, watching the planet rotate with the perspective of the dead, looking at the living. "Still deciding if you're staying." Batman's voice came from behind, the Dark Knight's reflection appearing in the glass beside Spawn's smoking form. "Deciding if I deserve to stay." Spawn's chains rattled softly, the suit's ambient motion revealing his internal conflict. "I'm Hell Spawn, born from damnation, powered by corruption, designed to serve demonic purposes. Everything I touch gets damaged." "That's not unique to you." Batman stood beside him, cowl pulled back to reveal Bruce Wayne's scarred features. "I've used fear as weapon for years. Traumatized criminals, destroyed families, turned Gotham into police state through surveillance. We all damage things. The question is whether the damage serves a purpose worth the cost. And does mine? You stopped 2 Hell invasions, exposed interdimensional conspiracy, prevented demon lords from merging their power bases, demonstrated that even beings created as weapons can choose to protect. Batman's voice carried something almost like approval. "I'd say the purpose justifies the cost." Spawn turned from the window, facing Batman directly. "You don't trust me. I can see it in your tactical assessment patterns, the way you position yourself for combat response, the contingencies you're constantly calculating. You're preparing for the day I turn, become the weapon Hell designed me to be." "Yes." Batman didn't deny it. "I have contingency plans for every powerful being on Earth, including Superman, including Wonder Woman, including myself if necessary. It's not personal, it's pragmatism. You're Hell Spawn operating at Superman's power level with military training and supernatural abilities. Of course I have plans. Doesn't that bother you? Planning to fight your allies? It would bother me more not to plan." Batman's expression was tired honesty. "I've seen too many heroes fall, too many good people corrupted by power or circumstance. The contingencies aren't about expecting betrayal. They're about being prepared if it happens. There's a difference." Spawn studied Batman, recognizing kindred spirit. Both operated in gray areas heroes avoided. Both used fear and darkness as weapons. Both understood that sometimes protection required methods that looked indistinguishable from villainy. "So, what's your contingency for me?" Batman almost smiled. "If you go rogue, I alert Constantine and Zatanna first. They contain you with magic while I deploy mystical dampening technology. If that fails, Dr. Fate intervenes with Lords of Order authority. If that fails, Superman engages while Wonder Woman prepares God-Killer's sword for lethal force. And if all that fails, you have something worse planned." "I always have something worse planned." But Batman's voice carried grim respect. "Though honestly, I'm more concerned about Hell sending another assassination attempt. Malebolgia is diminished but not destroyed. He'll eventually reconstitute, and when he does, he'll want revenge. Let him come." Spawn's necroplasm flared briefly. "Next time, I'll be ready." "You say that with certainty." I've had time to think, to train with your magic users, to learn this dimension's rules. Spawn's chains coiled around his body. I'm not the same hell spawn Malebolgia sent through that breach. I've adapted, evolved, become something neither heaven nor hell fully understands. And what is that? Spawn considered the question, the same one he'd been asking himself for a month. What was he now? Not quite hero, but no longer villain. Not human, but no longer purely demonic. Somewhere between redemption and damnation. Between choice and destiny. Between the weapon he'd been designed to be and the warrior he'd chosen to become. I'm someone who fights because I choose to, not because hell commands it. Spawn's voice carried hard-earned certainty. That's enough. Behind them, the watchtower's doors opened. Constantine and Zatanna entered, carrying the air of people who'd been searching for someone. There you are, Constantine said, cigarette dangling. We've got situation. Ravens picking up demonic energy signatures in Bloodhaven. Not invasion level, but concerning. Could be remnants from Malebolgia's forces. Could be new players testing defenses. Either way, Justice League Dark is investigating. You coming? Spawn looked at Batman, who nodded permission. Looked at the Earth rotating below. Looked at the heroes who'd accepted him despite everything he represented. Made his choice. I'm coming. They teleported. Constantine's magic, Zatanna's power, and Spawn's shadow travel converging on Bloodhaven's darkness. The city welcomed them the way all corrupt cities welcome darkness. With open arms and hidden knives. The demonic signatures were real. 3 minor demons attempting to establish territory, thinking Malebolgia's defeat had created power vacuum. They saw Justice League Dark's arrival and immediately prepared for conflict. Then they saw Spawn, the Hell Spawn who'd fought demon lords and survived, who defied Hell's hierarchy and chosen heroism, who stood beside magic users and vigilantes as equal rather than servant. The demons recognized him, and in their demonic perception, they saw not just warrior, but symbol, proof that Hell's Spawn could transcend their design, that even the damned could choose redemption. They fled without fighting. Smart demons knew when to avoid losing battles. Well, that was anticlimactic, Constantine muttered. All that teleportation for demons who run at first sight. Your reputation precedes you, Zatanna said to Spawn. Demons across multiple dimensions know you fought Malebolgia and won. You're becoming legendary in Hell's hierarchy, the Hell Spawn who chose to protect instead of destroy. I didn't win alone. No, you didn't. Zatanna's smile was warm acceptance. You won because you learned to accept help. Because you understood that strength isn't about fighting alone. It's about knowing when to stand with others. That's the lesson demons never learn, and heroes never forget. They stood on Bloodhaven's rooftop, 4 defenders of Earth's supernatural borders, watching the city breathe beneath them. Spawn felt something unfamiliar settling in his core, not happiness, because the damned didn't do happiness. But maybe peace, maybe purpose, maybe the recognition that he'd found a place where Hellspawn could be more than weapons. Next mission briefing is tomorrow, Constantine said, preparing teleportation circle. Some situation in Coast City. Apparently, Green Lantern Corps detected dimensional instability that might be related to Malebolgia's scattered essence trying to reconstitute. Needs investigation. I'll be there, Spawn said. They teleported away. Constantine and Zatanna returning to House of Mystery. Spawn shadow traveling to the safe house he'd established in Gotham's East End. The apartment was small, protected by wards Zatanna had taught him to maintain, defended by contingencies Batman had helped him design. It was the closest thing to home Spawn had experienced since death. He stood at the window, looking out at Gotham's endless corruption, and thought about the journey that had brought him here. Sent on assassination mission, chose different path, fought conspiracy-spanning dimensions, earned place among heroes despite being Hell Spawn. Al Simmons had died a soldier, had been resurrected as weapon, had been given orders to kill Constantine and start Hell War. Instead, he'd exposed conspiracy, stopped invasion, and found something he thought impossible in Damnation: choice. The communicator Batman had given him chirped. Text message from the Dark Knight. Patrol route designated for your sector. Demon activity spotted near Arkham. Respond if available. Spawn grabbed the device, typed response. En route. He shadow traveled into Gotham's darkness, chains extending, suit manifesting weapons, prepared to fight whatever supernatural threat emerged from the city's endless corruption. But this time, he fought not because hell commanded it. He fought because he chose to. Because Gotham, corrupt, violent, suffering Gotham, had given him something neither heaven nor hell had ever offered: the freedom to be more than his design intended. In the shadows of Arkham Asylum, demons scattered at his approach. They'd learned the hard way that Gotham now had Hell Spawn protector, one who'd faced demon lords and survived, one who'd chosen redemption over damnation. Spawn moved through darkness that welcomed him like family, chains rattling with purpose. The suit drinking in corruption and transforming it into power used for protection instead of destruction. He'd come to DC Universe on assassination mission. He'd stayed because he'd discovered something worth fighting for. Somewhere in the Eighth Circle, Malebolgia reconstituted slowly, planning revenge, plotting new conspiracies, preparing for the day he'd send forces to reclaim his wayward weapon. But that day was far in the future. Centuries, perhaps. Long enough for Spawn to become legend instead of weapon. Long enough for the damned soldier to become the nightmare hell feared. Spawn stood on Arkham's roof, looking out over Gotham's endless darkness, and felt chains settle into rest configuration. The city breathed below him. Corrupt, violent, suffering, exactly the environment where Hell Spawn thrived. But tonight, and every night forward, he'd thrive not as weapon, but as warrior. Not serving damnation, but defying it. Not because orders demanded it, but because he chose it. And in the darkness between life and death, between heaven and hell, between redemption and damnation, Al Simmons, Spawn, Hell Spawn, soldier, warrior, finally understood what he'd been searching for since resurrection: purpose. In the months that followed, Spawn became permanent fixture in Justice League Dark. His reputation spread across dimensions. Hell Spawn, who defied demon lords, who chose protection over destruction, who demonstrated that even beings created as weapons could transcend their design. Demons avoided territories he protected. Magic users sought his expertise on Hell's infrastructure. Heroes grudgingly accepted that sometimes darkness served light's purposes. Malebolgia eventually reconstituted in the Eighth Circle. His power diminished, but his hatred intact. He sent assassins. He engineered conspiracies. He tried repeatedly to reclaim or destroy his wayward weapon. Each attempt failed, because Spawn no longer fought alone. He fought beside Batman's tactical brilliance, Constantine's cynical magic, Zatanna's compassionate power, and dozens of heroes who'd learned that Hell Spawn with purpose was more valuable than any weapon Hell could forge. The dimensional barriers strengthened, early warning systems improved, new protocols prevented future invasions, and through it all, Spawn patrolled Gotham's darkness, protected supernatural borders, and demonstrated daily that redemption wasn't reserved for the living. In DC Universe's shadows, where gods walked as heroes and demons plotted endless schemes, one hell spawn had proven something neither heaven nor hell wanted acknowledged: that even the damned could choose to be more than their damnation intended. Al Simmons had died a soldier, had been resurrected as weapon, had been sent on mission that became redemption arc. And in the darkness between worlds, wrapped in chains and necroplasm and purpose earned through impossible choices, he'd found what all warriors sought and few warriors found: a cause worth fighting for and allies worth fighting beside. Somewhere in Gotham's endless night, chains rattled, necroplasm flared, and Hell's wayward weapon, now hero, protector, legend, continued his eternal patrol through darkness that welcomed him like home.